Today on the podcast, it's a wacky day in San Diego. Yeah.
And then
Get to the chopper.
calling us like the worst mic possible.
Well, yeah. We gotta. What would it have if, for everyone listening, we're talking about what if we turn the podcast into just a cheesy radio station? Welcome to the podcast. Today we have Dean Beiser, this wacky guy.
I am here.
Yeah, he is here.
It just like.
Yeah, it has to be like a cell phone call attached to a walkie-talkie. Like,
Battery is probably a potato at this point.
Yeah. And you got to have the soundboard. You got to have the soundboard from like E-Bombs World from like 2004.
Yeah, it's just playing like the explosion FSX in the background. You just
not only that, it's just got like the corny Arnold Schwarzenegger soundboard. It's like get to the chopper, and it's like get to the chop. It's just Jesus. If I ever did that, please hire the Delta Force guy to kill me. Pay him. And just be like, hey, Tommy's got to go. Kill him.
Subscriber rate would just fall. It would be gone. You would hit the negatives somehow.
Yeah. The first podcast to ever hit negative 11 subscribers. We're not sure how it happens. We're talking to the people at Google, and it's like, yeah, we're working on it, and we really don't know. The computer's frying. The cooling system's not working. He has negative subscribers. Yeah. But, what's today? 26? 27?
Today is the 27th.
27 March 2020. We are in Corona apocalypse.
Oh yeah, I am in lockdown mode. That's why Funner History has not gotten a lot of content for me, is because online schools, it's a lot more harrowing because I've been doing a lot of work. I've been right there on the computer, but like I have to do work, so whole load of bull.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, but now that I'm getting Friday off because because I asked to.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And so I'm starting to make new stuff right now that I hope will be epic.
It will be. Where? You don't, obviously, because there's a lot of fucking creepy people out there. I guess you're in California, correct?
Yes.
So how shut down is it there? Because I'm in Maryland.
Where I live, no one's really caring that it's a lockdown. Everyone's out. Everyone's out and about on the streets getting stuff from stores. I mean, the stores are sold out, so we're not that like away from the whole coronavirus field, because like every store there's nothing on the shelves.
Yeah.
Go to the cracker aisle to get some goldfish. What goldfish?
Yeah.
All their stocks are gone of every food, but there's still people on the streets on their bikes just chilling. It's not like other cities where you see it's completely abandoned. There's still people out and about.
Yeah, man. I mean, I get it, because I'm like an introvert who likes to like stay home and not do anything. But even I'm starting to get like a little stir crazy. Like, because really the only thing I ever did every day is like I'd go to the gym, like, because I take classes online. I do the podcast, do Funner History.
Yeah. Everything
I do is online, so I just do it from home. All the content I talk about on the podcast is from audiobooks, so I don't need to go anywhere. I'm constantly listening to audiobooks.
Yeah.
And so that being said, the only times I ever really went anywhere would be to go to the gym, and even that, it's just a mile away. It's for an hour, but not even having that little thing in my life, I'm starting to get like a little itchy, a little like I haven't gone for a walk. I haven't gone for like walks since my grandma was still alive, and I'd go for a walk around the neighborhood with her. Like, but I'm going for walks every day because I'm starting to cabin fever. So I get it, man.
The most hilarious thing that happened is before my school shut down, it was raining, pouring. There was just torn rain. It was pretty miserable. And now I look outside. There's not a cloud in the sky. It is a beautiful day. You can just take a nice walk, see all the birds. But we're all locked inside because our governor said we should be in lockdown. So I was like, why is this? Why?
Yeah, there was a meme that was like before lockdown, like rainy days, and it's like after lockdown, it's just like the sun with sunglasses on, and it's just like beaming. And it's
exactly.
Mother Nature doesn't give a fuck.
There was this giant storm that swept for like maybe a week or two. It like kept on raining for a couple of weeks with an occasional day off for a nice quiet day covered by clouds. And then after that, I've just seen good day after good day. It's perfect weather.
Yeah, Mother Nature doesn't give a fuck. Yeah, man. So when the quarantine ends, do you think coronavirus is going to skyrocket, or do you think it's
I mean, I think we're taking really good steps to defeating it at this point.
Yeah.
It's still going up, of course, but like we're fighting it pretty well.
Yeah.
So
it's like, I think some physician said it, and he's like you can never know if you overreacted. Like you can't know that, because if right now we're like, oh, this isn't so bad, it's like, well, it's not so bad because we hit pause on global civilization. We just like literally record scratch, like everyone go home, and everyone just went home. Cruise ships, planes, highways, March Madness, the Olympics, everyone just is literally like a World War II bombing raid blackout. But we did it for the entire planet and not just for a night. We did it. We just did it one day. Like everyone go home, and we hit pause. We just hit pause. It's like that Discovery Channel series, like The Day Humans Disappear or something. And it's like, what if we all just vanished?
I have the entire TV set of that.
Yeah. That's what it's kind of like. It's like the day humans just vanish, and like.
I mean, this happened once before, actually, down here in California. There's like an earthquake, a really big earthquake, like an 8 or 9 on the Richter scale that hit out in Bakersfield or something. It didn't affect us here on the coastline. Like, we probably felt a little bit of a shake, but that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone built bunkers, took everything out of stores. It was mass panic, as everyone was like, oh God, the earthquake could destroy us. Like, people in LA were going apeshit over just the earthquake. But it's out in Bakersfield, which is or near the Nevada border. It was like right there on the opposite side of the state. Just this really big earthquake, and it had 2 aftershocks, and then it was done.
Yeah,
we haven't done anything since then. But everyone started freaking out, buying like everything out of the stores, building bunkers, making like protection kits, all that. Crazy.
I mean, hey man, fear is profitable.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get the people riled up, dude, there's nothing like, I mean, I don't know anything about it, but I would imagine if I owned a fucking like grocery store, just some like mom and pop store, god damn, like the quarantine's not good for it, but man, those general freakouts, that's just you just making hay, and it's just you hit your annual quotas in the first quarter. Like it's like shit, man, like Y2K. Like,
oh yeah,
dude, the people selling dried food, like MREs, they're probably still living off that cash. like it's so that's one thing I've been thinking of, is like, god damn, you can make a lot of money, but at the same time, it's like, it's unique in that we've never had anything like this before, ever. There's never been a global thing where everyone just stops. Like, there's been war. There's been world wars, but
not since like the other. Like everything goes wrong.
Yeah,
like back in 1920.
Yeah. There's been world wars, but with that there's a physical thing. There are actual, like, houses are exploding, cities are burning down.
Yeah.
This is odd because it's like you can't see it. So it's almost like a ghost or like a demon.
You just see stats. That's it.
You just see stats. I mean, if there's a doctor listening or a nurse listening, they're like, you dumb fucks, what do you mean you don't see it? They see it, but just for you and me, just average
us households,
us average shit fucks,
sit in our houses, all we just see is just a graph as it slowly goes up.
Yeah, but it's like I'm looking outside, and it's like it's not like, oh, you can see the glow on the horizon from, like, I'm probably 2 hours from DC. It's not like I can see like oh, you can see the nuclear glow, or like
can't see the smoke rising from downtown.
I don't see, I'm like a mile or two from
society collapsing. You just see And especially for me here, everyone's still out, so it looks like just a normal day.
Yeah, it's like I'm like a mile, 2 miles from the ocean. It's not like I see like, you know, the carrier strike groups. You know, it's not like you don't see like National Guard Humvees in the street. It's just this. Like, I'm not being someone that says like coronavirus.
I do on a regular basis.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, before that, I'm surrounded by like 3 military bases.
Shut up, Dean.
The Navy, the Air Force, and the Army are all here. They're all here.
Yeah, they're all here.
The Marines come here at the Army base to stuff as well.
Yeah, but it's like, it's almost, I keep thinking of like South Park. You've seen The Day After Tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
That shitty movie that I love. It's kind of like have you ever seen the South Park making fun of it? It's an old one. I don't know if you've seen it, but like they're basically kind of like pretending it's happening. Dean, get off your phone. If you're on your phone, I'll break your neck.
No, I'm not. It's here. See this?
All right.
No, it's not.
All right. Beautiful.
They crack it.
Just cracks in half. But it's like the South Park where like they pretend that it's happening, and it's like Randy and like 2 other dads, and they're like walking down Main Street, and they're like, it's 600 billion below zero. Like, oh my God, how are we gonna survive? But it's just like a sunny day in Colorado. But they're like pretending it's so bad. They're like, I'm freezing, I'm dying. And he's laying there, and he's like, I'm dying. But I keep thinking it's like the end of the world, coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic, breaking news, Fox News alert, CNN special report. And I look outside, and I mean, it's not even exaggeration. There's literally 3 little girls on like pink tricycles. It's just like, it's a pandemic, and it's like,
bring, world pandemic, bring. Everyone panic, and then you just look outside, and there's some people just walking their dog.
Chirp, chirp, chirp. Oof, oof. And you just rustle of the branches. Shh. And it's like, pandemic, everyone, American shutdown. Will we recover?
Yeah.
The mailman comes by and he's like, "How you doing?"
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
we're all just like, you just see everyone panicking on TV. You just look outside. There's some people just playing ball out in the school field.
It's like the Bill Hicks bit. He's like, "Can someone tell me where all this bad shit's going on? Turn it on the news. War, famine, genocide, death. War, famine, genocide, death. War,
showing
famine."
Like
and then
photos of people like in hospitals or like tents and stuff, and then they're like, "Yeah, but what's happening in the actual area where I live?"
Yeah,
and
that's what Bill Hicks
just look outside. It's all fine.
Yeah, that's what Bill Hicks is like. He was just like, he's like, you just hear going into war, famine, panic, death, genocide, nuclear war, famine, and then you look outside and it's just like, chirp,
sure, buddy,
chirp, chirp, chirp. Chirp. The sun's just, you see the rays just coming through the leaves.
Yeah,
and he's like, where's all this shit happening, man? Yeah. Now,
I actually went outside a little bit to take out the trash. It's nice and warm as well. You can probably go over to the beach, get some nice waves. Probably a great day to surf now. Yeah.
You should walk out of your garage with like a hazmat suit on and like an astronaut like umbilical cord back to like your house.
I just have like a Febreze bottle. I'm spraying wherever I step. Like before I step, I just step. Just make sure I don't touch that coronavirus on that ground. You know.
And you're just carrying around a 5-foot stick, and you just when anyone comes near you, you're like, stop. You just poke them in the sternum.
You have like 2 air purifiers on your back, like some sort of like oxygen tank.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you got the big bubble head on. You're like,
like spraying all sorts of Febreze and stuff everywhere.
You got like a little red light, like siren.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. You got like those school bus stop signs. Someone comes near you and it's like
you're wearing like a full like safety vest and everything.
Yeah.
So like neon.
Bright yellow. Yeah, like in like high vis orange.
Exactly.
Microphone. You're like, please don't come any closer.
Keep your social distance.
Citizen, back up. Citizen. But then you take it to another level. It's just like, hey, Dean, I just got it. You're just like, bro.
It's just someone says, you should not freak out about it. Just whack him with this stick.
Everybody keep calm. It's like old school. Everyone keep calm. We can't lose our composure.
setting up like a fence outside their house, like some sort of military quarantine zone or something.
All right, Dad, you're on Overwatch.
You got like spotlights outside. It looks like a prison, even though it's just like a nice suburban house on the inside.
You're getting Mom's coming back with groceries.
You're doing like a full airport scan of every item.
The car's coming in. You've got the plane landing sticks.
Got like an X-ray going as the car comes through, just making sure everything's like not.
All right, shoes off, laptop in the bin. All right, good job, Billy. Yeah, so joke's on us. In 2 months, people are looking at this video and they're like, "Those two guys had no idea they were the next on the coronavirus death toll." Yeah, man. But so Monday I'm having on so that guy I've had on, Dan Libby. I really need to learn their ranks. Sergeant, what is it? Is it Senior Master Sergeant? Is that SM?
I have no idea how the military's ranking system goes.
I need to learn these. I'm terrible with them. Yeah, because I realize I always title them. I'm just like Air Force guy. I'm like Army dude.
I just know they usually start with C. So
yeah. No, this one begins with S. Whatever.
Oh.
Dan Libby, though. Yeah. He military interrogator and USAF intel. His brother, David Libby, was an Air Force historian. Not like a history major in the Air Force, but I mean or like a history major focusing on the Air Force. I mean was in the United States Air Force, retired USAF, and was like a base historian. So like of that base, he was the one in charge of just documenting everything, everything from like keeping minutes to, the history of the base, but where did he work? But Wright-Patterson, where the goddamn aliens are. So I was talking to Dan Libby, and I was like, I always try to mix it in. I've had him on 4 times now, and normally you get 2 hours in. I'm like, all right, Dan, what do you know about the aliens? Because he had a top secret clearance, so he there's a lot of stuff he can't talk about. But whenever I talk about aliens, he always laughs. And he's like, I think they exist. I don't know if they visited. And then finally, after having known him for a month or two and having him on a couple times, he called me one day. He's like, hey, man, so my brother was a Air Force historian. I was like, oh, that's cool. He's like, yeah, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where supposedly, is that where Hangar 13 was? Was that Wright-Patterson, or was that... the one that they put supposedly put the
remember S4, which was at Groom Lake.
Yeah, well, supposedly they put the saucer in a hangar at Wright-Patterson.
It was Hangar 13. It's in Project Blue Book. I just remembered.
Apparently, even Curtis LeMay was eventually denied access when he was chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Yeah, he was denied.
Yeah, he's the crazy man that wants to defeat Russia.
Yeah, Curtis LeMay was a boss. So he was insane.
Yeah,
I loved him. Bombs away LeMay.
Look at some of his quotes are just good.
His quotes are insane. That dude was a living caricature. Literally, walking on the flight line of B-36s, and they're all dripping fuel, and he's smoking the cigar, and someone's like, "Sir, they could light," and he looks at him and he goes, "They wouldn't dare." He's just smoking a stogue, his boots soaked in jet fuel, whatever. Yeah, he's bombs away LeMay. Yeah, he described Richard M. Rhodes described LeMay's bombing fleets, his fleets of thousands of B-29s taken off from islands in the Pacific to go bomb Japan. Described them as, I don't remember if Richard M. Rhodes described them as these or Richard M. Rhodes was quoting LeMay. Regardless, he said that they were LeMay's. It was ironic because he described them as his thousands of throwing stars, but that he would throw from the outer islands into the mainland. He would throw his Japanese throwing.
That is
because they were all the B-29s were reflective chrome. He's like, we'll see how tough they are when I throw my 1,000 throwing stars. And it was.
And then his missions over the Arctic with the B-47s, that was mad craziness.
LeMay went over the Arctic?
Yeah, he went right up over the Arctic towards Russia, turned around, did tons of missions with B-47 strategists doing that kind of go right up to the border, turn around.
Well, yeah, where they just fucking go just pedal to the metal, just full throttle. He'd send an entire.
They're going right over the Arctic in the B-47s. Before they arrive, they just pull back to American soil.
Yeah,
crazy.
But he'd send them over like full speed, and like just a wall of bombers. He'd just like a full on sprint. It'd literally be like if a bunch of like rhinos were outside of your like house, and they just start sprinting down the street towards you. You'd be like, "Oh, they're about to plow through the."
If you see like you see footage of B-17s over like Germany, there's like you can see like maybe 50 different bombers in the frame.
Yeah,
it's like that, but just replace it with B-47 Stratojets, and then replace it in Germany with Russia.
Yeah, but that's what he'd do, is he'd go just like afterburners, just freaking over, and then they literally
love the XB-70 though.
What?
He would love the XB-70 though.
Well, that was.
I don't think he lived old enough to see the XB-70.
No, that was his. That was his. That was his baby. Oh yeah, no, he wanted something like.
My sites are unreliable. I'll tell you that.
No, he wanted something like. No, LeMay wanted something like. He wanted like 300 XB-70s. And they cut it down to, they approved it, and then they cut it down to like 150.
They only had 2.
Then the 70.
They only had 2 that existed.
Well, no, they kept cutting it down, and then they finally cut it down to 16. And then that one crashed, and they said, okay, now they had already built 2, and 1 crashed. And so 16 was supposed to be the minimum number he would get. And he was already furious about that, because it was like 1/10 of what he wanted.
Yeah, it's this giant Mach 3 supersonic bomber that can like have this multi-load of payloads. Like you can probably put like missiles, bombs.
Yeah.
It even had those pancake air-to-air missiles for defense.
Oh yeah, you posted those. The it's called like Pyewacket.
I was on a website that
Pyewacket.
I was on a website that like looks at like alternate history planes, and then there was this photo of the XB-70 just releasing these pancakes looking missiles. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
So I looked up and I'm like, so it actually was going to turn into a space shuttle kind of program or something. There, like a person would go up into space in this pancake looking spacecraft, but like there's also the thing of a missile. The smaller shrunk it down, and they decided, hey, why don't we just shove it in the XB-70? So, boom. Yeah, it almost existed.
Yeah. They were like mini flying saucers. Yeah, the name was something weird. It was literally like, I mean, I'm butchering it, but I pronounced it was like Pyewacket or something. I remember reading it, and I was like, what the?
No, it was the Pyewacket.
Pyewacket. It was just such a weird fucking name.
It was P-Y-E Wacket. It's W-A-C-E. W-A-C-K. It's pretty simple, but pie, what the heck did they spell that?
Yeah.
Y-E what?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, fucking mad lad.
It tastes as bad as you expect.
Yeah, why would you do that?
I ran out of cranberry juice like halfway through the bottle, so I just grabbed the apple and just dumped it in. I'm like, I make cranberry apple juice.
Improvise, adapt.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. LeMay wanted a whole army of XB-70s because his whole thing was just the ability to strike. He said it all came down to how fast you could. Said there was a limit on, how valuable that, the value or the tactical value of warheads didn't necessarily go up linearly with megatonnage. A 57 megaton warhead, it doesn't have twice the blast radius of a 25 ton warhead. It's a exponential, or like it's a square cube thing. It doesn't go out. It's not. I don't know. I'm an idiot. LeMay, but he said
bomb confused.
Yeah. Bomb big, bomb go bam. Yeah, no, his whole thing was it didn't necessarily matter if they were in the kilotons or megatons, although LeMay did have a soft spot for megatons. But it was all about how quick can you get them there. That's all it was. It doesn't matter what you have if you can't get it there quickly. So, I mean, because Operation Chrome Dome was under LeMay, right?
I don't even know. I think it was just all the Air Force decided we need to keep these bombers up in the air. I don't know. Everything I've read is just says the Air Force decided, not like a specific person. So
yeah, no, LeMay was fucking insane. I love LeMay.
Yeah.
You know the Air Force.
Also, MacArthur Douglas, real crazy man.
Oh yeah, Douglas was fucking insane.
Also read a thing that after he was out of the military, researched UFOs as well. So
yeah,
cool
well that's the thing is Douglas MacArthur. He was fired by Truman because he criticized Truman for not because MacArthur wanted the U.S. to drop 14 atomic bombs on Korea when we started the Korean War.
Yeah, he really just wanted New Korea.
He wanted because MacArthur, I mean, you got to remember, MacArthur recaptured the Philippines in World War II. So, like LeMay, I mean, LeMay saw, his big thing was he will never forget how unprepared the U.S. was for World War II. And he said that the reason we survived as a nation is because we were removed by 2 oceans and, no war fronts on the northern and southern borders. He's like, because of that, we were able to mobilize and basically just turn into a massive fist of death and, go across the ocean and fuck shit up. Woo! But he said, I'll never forget how unprepared we were. And he's like, that won't exist in the future. And he's like, the next war isn't going to be, okay, we can see their carrier strike groups. They'll be here in 3 days. Or our radars are picking up their bombers over Greenland. We have 7 hours. He's like, it'll happen. He's like, or it won't be like a front that's slowly advancing over months. He's like, it'll happen in minutes. And he was like, we can never be unprepared again. And he's like, World War II. He's like, that was like that was a lucky one. He was like, we could write that one off like skin of our teeth. He's like, that won't happen again. So that's why he was all about always being on alert. That's why he went through every single base that comprised Strategic Air Command. He went through each wing personally. He went and lived at each one for days or weeks and literally restructured it, fired people, brought in new people, and would move on to the next one. He was like, it has to be a sharpened blade ready to go in seconds. Do you know one thing they had was one thing they experimented with where these antennas that they would spool out of the early doomsday planes before the E-4B. It was I think it was under Nixon, maybe it was under Carter, but they had these. They were called looking glass, and they would go up and they had these antennas that were just these long cables, and they were ELF, extremely low frequency, and that's how we could contact with. That's how we could contact our nuclear submarine fleets, because the wavelengths of these were in miles, and they could literally just they could go through the earth, they could go through mountains, they didn't get blocked by anything. But the thing is the radars had to be huge. There was an array in Maine, but it was something like 2,000 by 2,000 feet, and it was so big you couldn't even stand it up, so it was just in a field. But what we wanted because with these you could contact. If you could contact submarines, you could contact everything. And so our biggest worry was, what about a decapitation strike, where we can have all these nukes, all these missiles, all these bombers, but what if they wipe us out and they're all just sitting there on the runway and we can't launch them? So with this early doomsday plane, what they had was this big cable, and I shit you not, it was 5 miles long. It was 25,000 feet long. It was just a cable. And what they would do is they'd go up to 40,000 feet, and they said it was on enormous spools. And it wasn't a 747. It might have been what was the Starlifter? I think it might have been that.
Oh, the Starlifter. No, they're not. I don't think Starlifters were used for electronic warfare. I don't know.
There weren't a lot of these. There was 2
cargo planes.
Well, there were whatever this plane was. There was only 2 of them, so they were specialized. They bought planes, and
it's definitely not the C-141 because that's a mass-produced plane.
Okay. Well, no. They used a mass-produced plane, but they specialized it. It's it's like the 747 with the laser on it. Like we didn't
YAL would.
Yeah, we didn't mass produce like laser 747s. We mass produced 747 and we retrofitted one.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Like, so what the Looking Glass was is, I don't remember what plane it was, but it was a mass produced plane. It was just, we highly specialized in where we gutted everything. There was like the pilots, there's the communication, and then there was like the, I guess whatever their special position was, that they were in like the bottom of it, and they would spool out this cable that was 5 miles long, and they would drag it out in a straight line, or as straight as you can get, just, you know, because they're going 500 miles an hour. And then they would start doing a 360 bank, and they would just spin, and that's how they coiled it up. And then they would maintain that bank, so the entire thing, so this big coil about a mile in diameter would be turning in the air, and they could use that to contact nuclear submarines. And because that wasn't a mobile, or that wasn't a stationary antenna that could be targeted by a nuke. This was a plane that could at any point spool it back up, pull it back in, and then, you know, go off the radar. And it could,
if it is an E4 Sentry, if it was an E4 Sentry that was used, then that would make sense, because those things are supposed to resist nuclear weapons.
Yeah,
they're like EMP proof and such.
Well, no, this was one of the early ones that was EMP proof. It had a Faraday cage around the whole plane. They said even the windows, if you looked at the windows, you could see the crisscrossing of copper wires.
Because it probably was the E4 Sentry, because I think that was I think that in the VC-25, which is just a modified E4 Sentry for the President, were like the only planes that were really nuclear proof.
Yeah.
With like EMP proof. Like, you could drop an EMP on that plane would still be flying.
Yeah, it would be fine. That's what was so insane about it, is not only that, but so with Chrome Dome, where they kept those planes flying, you know, 24/7,
24 hours,
just turning them out. Just, you know, you land, or you take off, then you land. But another thing they had was with these radar planes, and they were the Looking Glass. I think, sorry, there were 3 planes, I believe, or there might have been 4 for redundancy. There's 4 planes, but there were 3 shifts. You take off at noon. No, sorry, you take off at midnight, 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. And they kept these going for something insane. It was like 35 years. So, like, we know about Chrome Dome, but what we didn't know about was these the Looking Glass, and these were the ones with the long spool antennas. And so what they could do with these is they tested them out. I forget where they tested them. It was one of the Air Force bases. It might have been Vandenberg. But what they could do with these is they had special access. They had special launch codes. And what they could do with these antennas was they could launch the Minuteman out of their silos without any input from the silo operators.
Man.
Well, the idea was what if they were killed? Like, what if sabotage? What if, you know, Spetsnaz went down there and killed them? Like, so what this wanted to do is it would just be able to fly up and down the coast. It could go into the Great Plains, and what it would do is they would know where all the silos were, and they could fly over a bundle of them. They could do their loop, and then beep, and but they tested it and it worked. They could go over with their huge coil, and they could actually remotely launch the Minutemen missiles without any input from the silos. And these guys were, I mean, it was even more I guess safety precautions than having nukes, because they had nuke codes. So it was like there was like a safe within a safe that had like the ability to unleash the spool and start launching. And it was like 2 guys with keys had to like unlock it at the same time.
Yeah, the partner key switch.
Yeah, but what
they always had that for the nuclear stuff.
But what this had is it also had I think the safe was like electronically closed, and that was so if at any point the number was if it lost power for more than 1.7 seconds, there was a charge inside, and it would destroy the mechanism, and that was to protect against sabotage or a crash. So so it was not only did you have to have double keys, it was a safe within a safe, and if it lost power for 1.7 seconds or more, there was like a C4 shaped charge inside. It would just tear through the thing with like molten tungsten or something. Yeah, they're fucking psychopaths. It was awesome. But yeah,
I mean, that would probably be a good view from the airplane, because imagine you're just sitting there up in the airplane, you've already launched the missiles, and then you just see them go right up past you.
I know.
Those missiles come up from below you, and then they're above you.
Yeah, and they're like 100 feet tall. They're insane. But yeah, that's what LeMay had. He's like, it's not enough that we have submarines, missiles, and bombers. It was, we have to be able to launch all of them, even if everyone else is dead. And then the other thing is he created ERCS, ERBMs, emergency radio ballistic missiles. And what it was is somewhere in the middle of America, there were 4 silos with 4 Minutemen missiles, and they took the warheads out of them. What are you smiling at, Dean?
I know what you're going to say, and you're going to say those things could make the missiles launch from a missile.
Yeah. And they had radio systems inside of them, and they took out the warheads, put in the radio systems, and no one, it was so classified, even other silo operators didn't know about it. So other silo operators thought that was just another silo, but what these guys had, it was 4 silos in a cross, and they would go east, west, north, south. And what they would do is they'd launch them up. They'd go the same trajectory as a normal ICBM, but they'd beep out launch codes. And this was supposed to be like the final straw. If nothing else is working, you fire this. It would go across the entire United States, just activating every silo as they went, activating the nuclear subs too.
I mean, it's like those like lead planes back in World War II. Like you see those B-24s with the crazy colors. That's because they would like lead the bomber formations before they head off and head back to base.
Yeah,
kind of reminds me of those. It would just be the lead planes to the start of the mission. They would be a different modified plane, not really meant for combat, but then it would tell all the rest of the combat-equipped bombers, this is where you go.
This is where you go. Fuck this shit up. Bombs away. But yeah, that's what these missiles would do. And he had other things too. He set up something called the Green Pine Network, and it was from Greenland to Alaska, and it were these like fortified radio stations, and apparently it was a form of radio that I think is still classified, because it wasn't that they were EMP hardened, it was that they couldn't be affected by EMP. I don't know how the fuck you pull that off. It wasn't hardened, it wasn't protected against EMP, it was not affected by EMP.
Probably was underground then.
Yeah, so that was the Green Pine Network. So yeah, we had the Looking Glass, we had the ERBM, I can't pronounce it, the Green Pine Network. LeMay was fucking, he did not give a shit.
I went to the Nike missile site over in San Francisco and the Titan missile site in Tucson, Arizona.
Oh yeah.
Those things have a lot of security measures just for the regular silo that would be firing regularly. That thing has a lot of precautions and such. There is so much stuff just to make sure it does not sabotage, the missile doesn't fire early, all that stuff. So that's just the regular missile silo. No special planes flying overhead or missiles guiding them. It's just a regular silo. It has so much security to make sure it doesn't do anything that the person's launching the missile wants.
Yeah. Did you ever? There's like a YouTube. I'm trying to get comfortable. I'm not comfortable doing that. There's like a YouTube video called like the Silent Sentinels. It's like but it's these guys that it's the guys that protect silos, and it's just like they talk about it and they're like it's like the most boring but most like paranoid job there is.
Yeah, they would give them a specific amount of time to give the right code at like 5 different stations. So there'd be the entrance, there'd be something before you enter the bunker, there'd be something down by the door, and there's something when you get to the actual firing area. You have to answer those 4 like things in like 5 minutes or something, and if not, the guard is going to come up and beat your ass.
Yeah. Well, no, not only. Well, a lot of them had. There was also. I mean, the guys in the silos. They were both armed, and it was if anyone comes in. If anyone comes in while you're on shift, it's shoot to kill. And not only that, going down into like one of the barriers. It was you went in. You had to be like, beeped in through like a camera. And then once you got in, there's almost like a little printer. And this is from Command and Control by Eric Schlosser. It's an awesome book. It's insane. It would like maybe it wasn't a printer. Maybe it was just like a little slot, and like your code for the door would come out. And it was a one-time code. And then next to the code where you typed it in was a little metal trash can. in a book of matches, and you're supposed to
Yeah,
take the
exactly.
paper
That's
and you're
also
supposed
what
to light it
happened
and
at the
burn it.
Titan site.
Yeah.
There was like a ashtray, so you'd have this code, light it, you use it, light it, put it away, get to the next thing in like this specific amount of time.
Yeah.
One-time code. You can never use it again. I was like, that is a lot of security just to get inside to the missile silo.
I mean, it makes sense though, because you got to think, if you can get access to one silo and you can manage to fire off a nuke, you're not just firing off a nuke, you're causing World War III.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
if you fire them, every other country fires them, and if they fire them, we're gonna fire ours. So it's really access to one nuke is access to thousands of nukes, in a sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and on top of all of that, LeMay wanted the XB-70. He was like, not only that, I want something that can do a Mach 3 sprint.
He also wants the bombers, so we can also just drop more nukes.
Yeah. Apparently, like, they didn't think, because all the other Air Force generals didn't like the missile, because they were classic Air Force. It was, we got these big, beautiful bombers, like, they were attached to them in a sense.
Now they're outdated because these missiles can fly there in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, our bombers are going slow as hell.
Yeah. I mean, the ICBMs would top out at Mach 23.
Yeah, they're going to space and coming back down. They're gonna
30 minutes.
A pretty quick system.
Yeah.
And the bombers, they're traveling like maybe like close to Mach 1. They're just big slow bombers. They arrive in Russian airspace in 6 hours.
Yeah. And they got to get refueled. They have people in them that need to eat. They have people and they got to be taken off and maintained. These missiles, I mean, those things, they could take direct hits, and they're in silos underground. It doesn't matter what's going on above ground. But apparently all the other like Air Force generals like weren't a fan of it, because they were like I guess more sentimental towards the bombers. A lot of them had flown in World War II in Korea. But apparently LeMay like didn't give a fuck. Like LeMay was like, "Oh, beautiful." Apparently LeMay even like used to write about them poetically in his like journal. He literally is like daydream.
Who hasn't?
Like, yeah. I mean, who hasn't? I definitely don't have a journal of
poems all about all the beautiful aircraft in the United States Air Force.
Flag behind me. Yeah. But no, apparently LeMay used to write about him, and he'd be like those big shiny nuclear weapons clinging to the belly of a B-36, like a baby clinging to, or like a baby like orangutan clinging to the belly of its mother, flying over the oceans, like twinkling in the starlight. And then they drop those, and with the concentrated power of a star, would come down onto Earth, and they'd bruise the continents and blind the stars. LeMay literally used to just like doodle about
LeMay just had a relationship with the bombers, probably.
Literally, it's like middle school, like, doodling like your crush's name. LeMay was like ICBMs with like a heart over the eye.
I heart my Valkyrie.
Yeah, I heart CBMs. Yeah.
You enter inside his room. There's just posters everywhere.
It's like boy bands, but instead it's just like nuclear warheads.
It's like all different types of bombers.
Yeah.
So got body pillows with an XB-70.
Yeah, he's got an XB-70 waifu. Just like,
exactly.
He's just got stacks of anime. Oh no!
I mean, I've seen some animes that have tanks in it, so I mean, it's not out of that. And boats, Navy ships. There's plenty of anime that involves itself in military aspects. But like, I've not seen anything that had any sort of aircraft in it, sadly.
Man, I'd love to get like one of those World War II bombers with like the women painted on the sides, but it's just like LeMay. It's like LeMay, with like eating like an ice cream cone or something, like something.
I mean, you probably can if you just like. I'm pretty sure a lot of painters can do that stuff still.
I would love to do that. When the podcast gets a studio one day, I want to get like an actual piece of like a B-29, just some big like chrome metal plate, and I want to get
the air museum down here. They actually sell pieces of bomber planes that have pinups painted on them. So I mean, probably make one. They're pretty simple to make.
Yeah. Whenever this place gets whenever this podcast grows enough to get a studio, that's what I'm going to get. I want to get a chrome plate, and I want to get some artist, just commission like an artist to actually do like a 1942 art style, but I want like LeMay in like a bikini, like straddling like a Titan II or something, or like a Redstone rocket. But yeah, MacArthur let, or another LeMay quote was about Vietnam. And you can tell how fucking like no fucks this guy was, because he said, like, without blinking on like an interview, he was like, we seem to have a phobia about hydrogen bombs. Everyone else in the world was like, yeah, we do. But LeMay was like, he said that about Vietnam. He's like, we seem to have a phobia about using hydrogen bombs, because he wanted to detonate them in Vietnam. He was like, one or two of these fuckers. He's like, you could light the whole country on fire. It's all jungle.
He's just he's like, once they actually do this mission, he's sitting in a movie theater of like live cam from the plane with popcorn, just like, it's gonna be a great view.
I'm sure he is. Yeah, he's probably, yeah.
But I've got like an entire movie theater just set up, so if one of those mission goes, he's just sitting there eating popcorn and be like, do the stuff, drop the nuke.
It's like the Michael Jackson gif. He's just like,
yeah, like the bomb goes, he just cheers. He's like the only one in that theater, but like he's like cheering his heart out.
Yeah, he like role plays. He has like he hires the whole theater. So he walks in and they just like, they give him a ticket. He goes to the counter and he's like, what would you like today? They have previews. Next summer, exactly. Hydrogen bombs, yeah. But yeah, so MacArthur wanted to drop, I believe it was 14 atomic bombs all up and down Korea, and Truman didn't want to, and MacArthur apparently started speaking ill of him, and Truman was just you gotta kind of like going to jail, you gotta beat up the biggest guy. Truman's like, fuck this, I'm not gonna be badmouthed by technically his an employee, and so, because he's the commander-in-chief, so, or I guess subordinate, and so he fired MacArthur. But yeah, that's MacArthur said about the Foo Fighters in World War II. MacArthur, he said, and this was before he was like fired and disgraced, he said in his report to, I think it was FDR or Truman, he said, I believe these are interplanetary craft. And he said, another quote of his is, World War III, it's not the Einstein one. I know not what World War III will be fought with. That one's the most overused one. But no, MacArthur's is World War III will be fought between planets. And then he also set up another thing he set up that not a lot of people know about was, he set up in the Air Force, he set up a committee, and it was to review UFO sightings and how can we protect ourselves against interplanetary invaders. This isn't some like
go to on channel name It's Redacted. They did a YouTube video recently about that speech. So if y'all are listening, go to It's Redacted. Very good channel.
Yeah, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Shout out Redacted.
That's on YouTube. Shout out to them.
Yeah, no, MacArthur literally wanted to form a committee because he was like, we need to learn how to either prepare to fight against these, or to capture and re-engineer them. But this isn't like neckbeard, like, oh, there are UFOs out there. This is MacArthur.
No,
like reporting to like FD.
Won the Pacific War.
Yeah.
And took a photo with their emperor.
Yeah.
The guy that almost knew Korea, talking about UFOs.
Yeah. Like, so that's not some bullshit. Like, this is, and it's not like he was fired already and so now he was saying anything to get back in the limelight. This is before that. This is when he was still flying high. Like,
yeah.
It never gets brought up. Or like, what about Truman? UFOs, given that they exist, are not created by any powers here on Earth. What the fuck? Like, it never gets brought up. It's just like, oh yeah, but it's like, a sitting U.S. president said that. Like, what the fuck?
Listen, pay attention to the documents. Do research.
There's something. To say that there isn't something, and I don't know what it is, but to say there's not something, there is something. Doing dirty like that.
Your comedy.
I have achieved comedy. I have achieved laugh. So, Project Blue Book.
Woo! That was season 2 just ended like 2 days ago, so sad about that. I don't get to watch any new episodes.
Rest in peace.
Cry.
Rest
I
in
cry.
peace. F. Pour one out for Dean. Big F. But,
yeah, probably just gonna come back during summer, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? Who even knows?
But it's worth watching?
Oh hell yeah!
Really?
It's great.
Well, then I might need to get it. Well, actually, I probably do need to like binge watch it because I'm having the Air Force Historian on
Amazon
Monday.
Prime. It's on Amazon Prime. Both seasons.
Okay. Fucking let's go into it because it's what's today, Friday. I got Saturday and Sunday to watch it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's pretty long. Like each episode is like 40 minutes, so you might have to extend that time a bit more.
Well, I got the guy on Monday. I can't push that back. So. I mean, when I had
you could just hold it off. That's usually what I do.
What?
Like, do Saturday, Sunday, do the thing on Monday, maybe get the rest of the episodes done the next weekend. I don't know.
Well, no. I want to watch them so I can talk to this guy.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Do it quickly because these episodes are pretty long.
Okay. Well, I can start today. I can start after the podcast. So.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, so I just play. So I just play video games on mute and I listen to audiobooks, and that's the only way I can learn because I'm ADD. So I gotta play Just Cause, flying around, blowing up gas tanks. That's the only way I can learn. But when I do that, I can listen to an audiobook for 8-9 hours in a row. So it's fantastic. So I started Michio Kaku's The Future of Humanity. It's already fucking insane, but I don't want to go off track. What has stuck out from Blue Book to you?
Well, I mean, it does talk about a lot of famous UFO sightings, that are pretty mainstream, but I don't know, it's also kind of fiction in some places, because some of these things never really happened. But great TV show that kind of retells history in its own fun way, and it's by the History Channel, so what do you expect?
Yeah.
They're a bit all over the place with aliens and such. But they still did pretty good on it.
Wait, so they do... Well, now I'm debating whether or not I should watch it. Because you said some of them are fiction?
I mean, like, the UFO things, they're all real. It's just, like, what happens not during when they're researching about UFOs. That's all fiction.
Oh, yeah, like backstory, like the human story.
Well, there's Russians, and those Russians probably didn't exist at that time, so... I mean, they're probably making some things up here and there, like, just to, elaborate things, because probably the files aren't that big, because they're probably all classified.
Yeah.
Because it's Air Force.
Yeah.
So they're probably having to make some things up so they can at least get a big story going. But most of it is pretty truthful.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure there isn't because as far as I know, I don't think there's a giant hole in the wall, a giant mountain with a giant hole in it that belongs to a military installation with a giant fusion core or something inside it. As far as I know.
Is that one of the episodes?
Yeah, that was like the first episode of season 2 or the second episode. I don't know. They went to Area 51. Then near the end of the episode, giant hole in the mountain opens, and there's just this big blue glowing orb inside, and you're just like, the fuck is this?
God damn it. Alright. Well, then maybe that won't be the best thing to watch for Monday. I've got UFO books. There's a good book called The Black Vault, and it's literally just, it's a very dry book, but that's how the author wanted to present it. He was like, I don't want to present some like sexy UFO Men in Black story. He's like, these are just the declassified CIA files.
Yeah.
And it's dry, but because of that, none of it is falsified or fabricated. And that, even with that, there's still some really weird shit. Like one of the craziest ones is it happened on the East Coast, I think in like the 80s. And there was this like cylinder that was streaking up and down the East Coast, and like the first thing we did was contact the Russians, and the Russians were like, we have no idea what that is. Like, no, that's not ours. So this thing was going up, but apparently it would be like off the coast of Virginia 1 minute, and like 30 seconds later it would be like off the coast of Miami.
Jeez, that's really quick.
It was just bolting up and then would go up to like Maine, and then would drop down to like Savannah, and would just then go back up to Manhattan. Like, it was just, yeah. And they were just scrambling scrambling fighter jets up and down the coast. But it just never gets talked about. What's so odd about all these UFO sightings are it's almost like they just don't get talked about. And I don't mean in like the, ooh, the saucer came and it abducted my cousin, and, you know, not like stupid shit like that, but like stuff like MacArthur or Truman, or it's just like there are legitimate things that happen that no one can explain.
I mean, most of them are in government files because, like, it's redacted. They're finding these files. They're going around to, like, military stuff and finding these military files that talk about it and such. So, like, some of them, they are kind of blacked out and such.
Mm-hmm.
I guess kind of in, like, people, they don't really go around searching for information. That's probably why they don't get talked around so much, because they're just talking about UFOs. They're talking about the mainstream ones, the ones that everyone knows, the ones that are famous, not the ones that you actually have to go research on the internet. You have to go to the deepest websites to find the truthful information, like government files.
Yeah, man. Do you think Trump's ever going to do anything with UFO files? I mean, if there's anyone that would do it for good, better or worse, but just to,
I mean, Trump is really outlandish. He'd probably do that, but like, it matters on what happens this election, because election's happening this year. He might just get booted out before he can do anything.
Yeah, if it's not, I have a feeling that if it's like not looking good for him, he's gonna do like one of two things. He's either going to like federally legalize marijuana, or he's gonna release some UFO files. Like,
he's gonna release a few government secrets here, and then he's gonna get assassinated by the Men in Black, just like JFK.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you were saying that JFK was in Blue Book.
Yeah. The last episodes of season 2, he came in as Senator Kennedy, because he's not president yet, but he was kind of on the good side of things. So on the last episode, on episode 10, season 2, he really just went right up to the office and told him, "Yo, got a UFO sighting, come check it out." And like the thing is, like, the people that had the sighting said that Kennedy said it was false, even though it's Kennedy. He's a famous senator. Mm-hmm. So like, you can see that he's probably speaking the truth, and the other people are just trying to say no, it's not truthful. So very interesting. But I say the actor that's playing Kennedy, pretty good. Yeah. He does the Southern voice. He looks like Kennedy. Pretty good.
Southern. Kennedy had a Boston voice.
I don't know. I can't even tell what that accent is. I can just tell you it's not really like
it
common.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a normal I looked it up, and it's, even though he's from Boston, apparently that's not like the common Boston accent. That's like,
I'm just gonna guess.
That's like the elite.
Guess it's somewhere East Coast-ish.
Yeah. Well, that's apparently it was like you only got that, and it was from like a specific area, and it was like a very elite accent. Yeah. Which fucking makes sense. Like,
but his accent is really big. Yeah. He has a pretty big accent, Cuba. But I think it does pretty well.
These United States will not back down in the face of communism. And then, therefore, with our great men and women of these times and this nation, not for one man. Yeah, man. Do you think Kennedy was actually prying around, putting his nose into UFO files? Do you think that's why he got iced? Or do you think it was because he didn't want Vietnam to go forward?
A lot of people are believing that, of course, it was some Middle East guy because of his presidency. It was kind of
Middle East guy?
I don't know what my aunt was saying. I was mostly not paying attention, but she was saying I talked to my aunt. She's also kind of a believer in myth stuff, so she like researches about dreams and all that, kind of just investigates in the weird. She read she listened to a podcast that talked about the guy that assassinated Thomas, his name is Thomas, I think. I don't know. It was JFK's son, I think. The guy that assassinated him over a hotel. They found the guy that assassinated him. He was, of course,
JFK's son died in a plane crash. JFK Jr. died in a plane crash in the 90s. His brother, Robert Kennedy, his brother, who was killed by Sirhan Sirhan.
Yeah, I think that's him. I can't remember the Kennedy bloodline for the life of me. But yeah, he was assassinated. They supposedly found the killer, and the killer was acting like he was brainwashed or something.
Oh yeah, Sirhan. That's the thing. That's the idea is that he was he was either from CIA, MK Ultra, or he was from like a KGB version of MK Ultra. Because
yeah. So I mean, the main thing is that because of his presence, some like terrorists from Middle East decided to assassinate him because of his presidency. But like the serious theory is JFK was really trying to go out for the secret stuff, because I mean he was the one that wanted to go to the moon. He's the one that was really looking at the space program. He probably knows something.
You gotta know something, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you look at the presidencies, not much of them were as, like, really
ambitious
going forward with any rockets as JFK was. He was the one that was looking at all the missile launches. He was the one that looking at all this. He was out there just doing stuff.
Yeah, and, he was constantly watching missile launches. He was the first president to watch like submarine launched missiles.
Yeah, he probably went to a couple of nuclear test sites to see some of the bomb blasts.
Yeah.
So it makes sense if you'd probably research into the mysterious government files that they keep from the president, like UFOs, for example.
Like what?
UFOs.
Yeah.
Area 51, all that.
No one was really, it's like openly pro-human and pro-peace as Kennedy. Like one of his quotes is that we like must move towards a peace, and not a temporary peace, but a peace for all time, and not a peace for Americans, but a peace for men of all kind. He's like the kind of peace that lasts forever, the kind of peace that leads to utopia. But that's not profitable. So Kennedy got a lobotomy in his Cadillac. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's definitely an alluring idea to think that Kennedy was looking into UFOs. I like Stephen Greer's take on it, and you know, everyone has their opinion on Stephen Greer, and I'm not trying to say whether or not he's legitimate or genuine, but I do like his take on it, and I think it's probably the most convincing take. And it's, you know, like the first idea is like, are there UFOs? Okay, like whatever. The second take is, what if there are, why would the government withhold it? And it's, you know, because the people would freak out. But I think as time goes on, and you know, most people think that there's other life in the universe, and we're sending probes to different planets, and like, I don't think that's a viable explanation anymore for why would the government hold it back, because the people can't handle it. I think it'd be like coronavirus. It would be crazy for like the first week or two, and then everyone would, you know, they'd eventually want to go back to their jobs. They'd eventually, coronavirus, end of the world, and eventually people are like, I want to go to a football game. Like, you just eventually you don't give a shit. You're back to normal.
Exactly.
So I don't think that's a viable explanation for why the government withholds it. Stephen Greer's take on it is the government would withhold information about UFOs and alien contact because if there are UFOs and alien contact, that means that obviously they are on Earth, you know, recovered craft. If they are on Earth, they obviously traveled to Earth. If they travel to Earth, the nearest star is 4.3 light years away. That means that they have the propulsion. It's not the propulsion source, or the propulsion method doesn't even matter. What does matter is they have the energy source to fire whatever propulsion to get here in a timely manner. Mm-hmm. So if that is the case, then that means that they have a vastly advanced energy source. And the global dollar, gold doesn't matter as much as the petrodollar does. It's backed by oil. If you control oil, if you control all the reserves, you have the world by the balls. Nothing happens without you saying so, if you control the oil. So if there's all of a sudden this source of whatever they run off of, maybe nuclear fusion, Stephen Greer says they run off 0-point energy, which is even more efficient than nuclear fusion.
They could be modifying gravity in ways.
Yes, it would. So the real reason that they're holding it back isn't because they don't think that we can handle it or society will collapse. No, it's because that would have to you would have to admit or acknowledge the existence and ownership of an insanely advanced energy source, which would completely wash away their ace up their sleeve, which is they hold the world by the balls because they have the oil, they have control of the oil.
Mm-hmm.
If you surrender control of the oil, you know, what's the golden rule? He who has the gold makes the rule, right?
Yeah.
So if all of a sudden the world's not dependent on the petrodollar, if there's some fucking alien reactor that, you know, it can run on a pellet of hydrogen the size of a BB and it can power the earth for 1,000 years.
Eons.
But then why would anyone, you know, all of a sudden that global, that power source, that control of the earth, of literal and figurative power, that goes away all of a sudden. It's like if there's 10 of us on an island and you're the only one with a gun, and a message on a bottle washes up on shore, and it's existence of another island of people. You're not withholding it because you don't think that we can handle the information. It's because maybe that thing came here on a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
And what the existence of that bottle means is that a rocket launcher exists. And if a rocket launcher exists and the technology exists to it, well, then why the fuck would we listen to you, the only guy with a gun, if we can all have a rocket launcher?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that is the most compelling point. It gives credence to the existence of it.
The U.S. is greedy.
Yeah. Well, it's just the global elite, whoever's in charge. So there's a power source that would negate their fucking vice grip on the global testicles, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
UFOs are a real big area of mystery, that's for sure. I mean, it's also really mysterious because, like, there's also the aliens coming over so we don't nuke ourselves. There's also that thing going on.
Oh yeah, Holloman Air Force Base.
Like, I watched a documentary recently called UFOs and Nukes. Go check it out on YouTube. Pretty cool.
Okay.
But it talks about like UFO sightings that happen on nuclear missile sites and such.
Mm-hmm.
But what it's really talking about is like a lot of the alien sightings happen near a military installation, outpost, airbase, anything really, and mostly nuclear weapons as well.
Yeah.
Like, I think there was this one footage that this guy caught. He was just chilling by an Air Force base watching a nuclear missile go up. And then, like, as the missile delivered the dummy payload, some UFO came up right up to it, started shooting this laser at it, and the thing just flies. The thing flies off, and the missile falls out of screen.
Yeah.
And it's like, so it seems like the UFO was tampering with it. I think there was also a theory that there was the mission to nuke the moon.
Yeah,
remember that?
That was it. Yeah, it was not.
They said they were going to do it. They sent it a nuke up. Then a UFO came up and stopped it before it could hit the moon. Like they didn't want it. They didn't want them to nuke the moon.
Yeah, and the other one at Holloman Air Force Base, it said they came over and that the nuclear missile silos were shutting down one by one as the saucers would go over them.
Yeah.
And it was basically, and it's the idea. It's like the UFOs, like, or the alien species, like,
they would shut them down. They would like start them like just before they reach launch, and they would stop them.
Shut them down
like,
again. Yeah.
Like, this is what would happen if you actually launched them. You would panic like you are now.
Yeah.
You'd start panicking.
Yeah. And it's the idea is like they're not going to come to us and give us technology and basically advance our civilization. There's like a rite of passage, and the rite of passage is world peace. And so they won't come in and like they won't. The idea is that these advanced species, like, because there's the great like bottleneck, and it's, you know, it's like what is it, the Fermi paradox? Where is everyone?
Yeah.
If there are so many planets,
exactly. There's multiple mass extinctions that you have to go through, like things that can kill off your species if you don't pass through it.
Yeah. Well, there's those, and those are out of your control. Those are asteroids. Those are whatever. But
Black
then
holes.
Yeah. But then like
supernovas.
the final one is the nuclear bottleneck, and it's eventually your species will discover nuclear power, and either the ability to power peaceful things, or the ability to vaporize each other and irradiate your planet for the next 100,000 years. And that's the great bottleneck. And the idea is that To become a multi-planet spacefaring species amongst the stars, the only way you can do so is the only ones that ever survive are the ones that manage to create a global community and stop fighting, because it's not that we all need each other's help to travel amongst the stars so much as that if you can get to space and then use space to nuke each other, you're going to wipe out everyone, mutual assured destruction, and therefore you're never going to exist as a species to discover new shit, go out amongst the stars. So the only interstellar species or communities, civilizations that there are the ones who peacefully made it through the nuclear bottleneck. And so what they'll do is there's no one coming to attack your planet. There's no nefarious alien species. Everyone that's made it to that point is a utopian species, and they have godlike technology. So but they won't interact with your planet either positively or negatively. And the one stipulation is if you can come out into space acting peacefully, you'll join the alien community and you will know like everlasting utopia. But they're not going to help you get there. You have to it's a rite of passage. You have to get there on your own. The only interaction they will do is they will not allow you to come out of the boundaries of Earth and start nuking shit outside. They're literally, they're keeping you in the sandbox. If you guys want to nuke each other, you are free to do that. That is your free will as a civilization in the universe. We're not going to let you start nuking the rest of the world. So it's like all the adults are in the interstellar neighborhood, and if the kids want to fight in the sandbox,
the kids are all fighting out they're having a Nerf fight out in someone's yard, kid's yard,
and that's fine. But you're not allowed to leave the yard.
Yeah.
If you try to shoot a Nerf
out to your yard,
you're going to get stopped. Well, no, your ICBM is going to get hit with a laser from a saucer. You can't come out. You're more than free to fucking kill each other, but you're not allowed to leave. You're not allowed to leave. Well, the other idea is that is nothing will allow us. So it's not even that you can't shoot nukes out there. It's that if you try to sort of like, when you haven't unlocked an area of the map and you try to go there, like GTA, you get like 5 stars or whatever, or it's like you hit like an invisible boundary. Just Cause, they'll start being like lightning storms and like snow and you'll die. So the idea is that when we went to the moon, that was sort of a loophole. It's like we didn't fire nukes, so we did leave the planet peacefully, but we had not yet created peace on the planet. And the idea is that, again, we're going way off.
Like the Mars missions, Cassini, all that, they're all going out there.
Yeah. So the idea is that, again, we're going way off into the weeds, but the idea is that we can shoot probes out, but if we start trying to send humans out without having first fixed to the Earth, then we'll get sent back. And the idea is that we were met on the moon by an alien species and said you have to go back. Again, we're going way out into the weeds here. But to just entertain
the humans in space are actually pretty peaceful compared to the humans on Earth. Because,
Space Station?
If you think back to, the Apollo Soyuz mission where a Soviet Russian probe docked up with an Apollo probe, and they were just buds up there in space. Even though they were down below, there were two superpowers fiercely getting weapons,
guns to each other's heads,
to each other, and then 2 of them were up in space just having a good time.
Yeah. So
also the ISS, the International Space Station.
Exactly.
Many nations banded together and built the biggest floating piece of junk ever to go around space. This giant space station full of science.
It's also the most expensive single construction project ever. From all the nations banding together. So I think it's like you can't take weapons into space, and it seems like that's almost like the limiting factor. Like you can shoot probes to all these different planets. That's fine. Whatever. They're just fucking robots. But you can't take weapons. And not only that, it's the UFOs go over those. They've interacted with ICBMs that we fired into orbit. They've also gone over nuclear silos and turn them on, turn them off. But not only that, I mean, you gotta think about like Roswell. What's Roswell right by? It was by the 509th Bomber Wing.
Yeah.
In 1947.
Air base where there's nuclear bombs.
Not only that, the only air base in the world at the time with nuclear bombs. This was 2 years after Hiroshima. They were the only atomic bombing wing in the world.
There was another area, an Air Force base in Britain. This big oval UFO came right up to the air base, went to these bunkers where they keep all their nuclear weapons, started shooting them a laser into them, started shooting this like little beam of light into the bunkers, then just went off like just boom, gone.
Yeah,
never to be seen again.
Yeah, it's like, isn't that interesting? It's like the one place where there were nukes.
There's a UFO.
Yeah, and not only that, like, isn't that interesting? It's like 2 years later, where it's like, even with super advanced, faster than light propulsion, if you're on the other side of the galaxy, 150,000 light years, it's still probably going to take like 2 years, even if you have faster than light. Isn't that weird? It's like exactly like 2 years later. July 1947. The bomb was August 6th, 1945.
Yeah.
It's like the bomb went off, and it was literally like detected 2 years later. They're here, and they're like, "What's going on?" and where did the saucers go?
I sense nuclear weapons were deployed on someone else's soil.
Yeah, but not only that. I mean, think about it. I mean, they probably could have seen the nuclear flash. I mean, I'm sure we could detect a nuclear flash on another planet. You know, if you're advanced enough, I bet you could detect that flash, that light source, that light signature. And not only that, it's not even like they went to Hiroshima. Where was the first nuclear bomb? Alamogordo, New Mexico.
Trinity. The Trinity test out there in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Alamogordo, New Mexico, 5:45 a.m., July 16th, 1945. Where were the UFOs? Roswell, July 1947.
Like in New Mexico.
Ooh, yeah. Like, I mean, if I shoot off a fucking illegally large firework at my house, and 2 hours later there's a black SUV, and it happens to be at my house, and maybe the ATF, I mean, you don't need two brain cells to go, they might have come from where the explosion came from, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking that up. Dean, keep talking.
Okay. Yeah, so I've seen the UFOs and nukes talks about like the UFOs coming in, even for the Project Blue Book, they even talk about why are all these UFOs come checking out military things. Like, I think half the episodes have something to do with militaries, like Russian bomber, there's a Russian bomber that had almost nuclear bombs in them. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to drop too many spoilers here because I don't know how much people is out there have seen Project Blue Book, but yeah, big nuclear bomber. There's one of a joint U.S. NATO operation main bridge or something is called, going up all the way up to Russia with like battleships and aircraft carriers, all that. There's some other ones like Area 51. There's some out there. All that. They all have something to relate with the military in some ways. And like the ones that don't, they were explained by something really easily. Like
something mundane.
There was the Lubbock Lights, this big triangular looking UFO that's before the Phoenix Lights came over to this town of Lubbock. And then a bit later, they find out that was the YB-49 with some weird lights.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. They go to Area 51. They find a hangar with all these experimental planes like the XB-15, the YB-49, the Convair Pogo jump jet. And then they look at the YB-49. All the lights match the Lubbock Lights, and they're like, "Oh, there's our explanation."
Yeah.
So the things that they explained, that was not near military. The things they haven't explained, that was all military. Yeah. That was all near military stuff, like UFO intercepting a T-6 Texan, all that. That was military. It's very interesting.
Yeah. So the Trinity nuclear test, Alamogordo, New Mexico, 5:29 a.m., July 16th, 1945. UFO incident, July 8th, 1947, Roswell, New Mexico. I mean, July 8th, July 16th.
How far are Roswell and Albuquerque from me?
I'll look it up.
Yeah, switch it up.
Roswell to Alamogordo. 2 hours, 117 miles of the entire
2 hours apart.
Yeah. So 117 miles of a planet that's 24,000 miles across. So this whole planet, almost 2 years to the day, 8 days apart. And 117 miles.
2 hours mile difference, and then there's this UFO sighting.
Like, but I mean, if you were going to explain it away, and again, everything we're saying, it's like, yeah, obviously beforehand, like, take it with a grain of salt. Like, Dean and I, as smart and awesome and brilliant as we are, we're not experts in this. But, Lex, my mustache. But, like
most of this I just get from documentaries or YouTubes, video
but
books.
Even just,
this is someone else's information that I'm just sharing.
But even that is like this isn't someone's special information. That's what it is. Those are the dates. Those are the times. Those are the coordinates. So if you're just going to think critically on your own, not everything, appeal to authority. Not everything has to be from a book or from the government. Who said that? Well, my mom said it. Well, okay. Well, like, what do you think? What did your eyes and ears tell you? Critical thinking. So what do you like? Again, first nuclear flash. Nuclear bombs do have, even different from supernovas, they have a very distinct light signature.
They also have radioactivity, but you probably notice Earth has this amount of radioactivity. That one spot has a lot more than usual.
Yeah.
This little spot in the middle of New Mexico has a little more than usual.
So again,
like a lot more.
It's like
what's up with that?
It's like if you were over here at my house, and it's like, Dean and Tommy, you guys can shoot, flare guns at each other, and if you poke each other's eyes out or kill each other, that's fine. That's your free will. You're not allowed to leave this. You're not allowed to leave the front yard. You're not allowed to go anywhere else in the city. So if we start blowing shit up and we set off a bomb or something, yeah, well, where are the cops going to come? They're going to come to that location, and there's going to be a little bit of a time difference. Maybe they didn't get the exact address correct. Maybe they went to the next door neighbors. But in regards to the whole city, even if they get to the same cul-de-sac, that's still very relatively close, right?
Yeah.
So if 2 years go by and you get to an hour, or you get to 117 and a half miles apart, like Roswell, Alamogordo, July 16th, 1945, July 8th, 1947. It's literally like, those are the sirens. Whoop, whoop. Like, those are the cops coming. But instead, it's flying saucers. And where do they come? They're coming to check out the kiloton explosion. Like...
Exactly. They're finding out what just happened. Did you just detonate a nuclear bomb? That's a no-no, sir.
Yeah, that's a no-no. Oh, shit. And you did it over... you did it over some civilians, too. Okay. You guys are allowed to have these. You can't bring these into space. And then what did we do? We did shoot up the metaphorical flare. Starfish Prime. We shot a fucking 1.4 megaton nuke over the Pacific. All right?
All those nuclear missions out in Bikini Atoll and such.
Yeah, seriously,
out there.
Yeah. All those hydrogen bombs going off, and not little kiloton ones, not little firecrackers. Like, the big boys, like the 10, 15, 20 megaton fucking monsters. Like...
And it's not just us, it's over in Russia as well.
Russia's doing it. Now China's doing
nuclear
it.
bombs out there in Siberia.
Yeah.
You see Tsar Bomba going off out there.
France did it. Britain did. They have a testing site over the ocean. So now all of a sudden it's like, all right, these assholes got flare guns. You guys are allowed to use these. Don't you dare shoot these into space. If you guys want to kill each other, you can. And, so where, again, let's go back to the cop analogy. I shoot up a flare gun. Cop comes and you and I are just sitting there like, oh, we don't know what happens. And where's I think Holloman Air Force Base, flying over the silos. Where's the cop there? The cop walks right up to, I put the silo under, whatever. I put it under a bush. The cop comes over with a flashlight, kicks it twice, looks at me, kicks it again, looks at you. Is letting us know that he knows, but he's not going to take it. And kind of, puts it in your eyes, comes back, gets in the car and leaves. We're going,
Maybe we shouldn't do that again, but it was so fun.
Exactly, it was so fun. They're probably not going to come back. And why would we want to keep that information from everyone else? Because to all the other kids in the neighborhood, we've got the flare gun and they don't. If we let them know that cops came, what's that going to do? They're now going to know that...
They're going to get attention because whoa, someone just came over and the cops saw that this might be illegal. I want to fire it now.
Well, not only that, think about it. If we're holding the rest of the kids under our thumb with our flare gun. Hey, we're in charge here. We get all the good stuff. Give us your Xbox. We have a flare gun. We're going to shoot you. And all they have are slingshots. Well, if the cops come, they come and they're knocking on, they're looking at the flare gun and they leave. Well, those are cops with squad cars, with guns, and with helicopters.
With actual guns that shoot actual bullets.
And with helicopters. They far outgun us. They are a greater authority than us. And they're not bullying. They're there for peace. We can't let all of our subordinates know that there is a far greater power than our shitty little flare gun, right?
Yeah.
And not only that, we all have bicycles, and they come over here on a squad car with a fucking combustion engine. So they're coming over here with advanced
They can hit like 60 miles per hour. We can probably hit like maybe 5 or 10.
So they're coming over here.
10 on a hill.
Yeah. So they're over here with squad cars. They can go 120 miles an hour. They have guns that are much stronger than flare guns. If those other kids know of those police existence, they know that they don't have to listen to us because, like, oh, there's a greater power out there, and that greater power, for the most part, wants peace. It's in you and I's interest to not let anyone else know that there's anyone else on the block. We want everyone to think that we're the top dog. But
yeah.
Now, go further. Does that mean that we are just going to complete? Is that a turtle? Does that mean we're going to completely? Hello, turtle. Does that mean we're going to completely ignore them? No, because what are you and I doing? We are power thirsty. We're power hungry. We want to stay in charge. So we're not going to let them know that these cops exist. But what are we definitely going to do? Oh, shit, man. We're going to try to get one of those guns. We're going to try to reverse engineer. Oh, they parked their squad car. They crashed one of their squad cars into a tree, and they left it there.
They accidentally just left a gun lying down as they were writing down a note.
They left a gun, or they crashed a squad car and they ditched it. And so what do we? We capture that squad car and we pull it into my garage. My garage is Hangar 13, and we're going. How do we get?
They go to Area 51 and such. So,
how do we get this?
So we can make our own squad car.
How do we get this thing working?
Repair the squad car so we can go strolling around like, yo, check this out.
Yeah. How do we get this combustion engine working? Because what do we want it for? We want it for ourselves. So now we can fucking really rule everyone. Because now if we can have guns and a combustion engine and a squad car with lights and seats and a horn and a steering wheel and a trunk.
Go up to like a maximum 120 miles per hour.
Oh, yeah. Now we're really the big bosses on the block. Forget these flare guns. But until we master that squad car and until we reverse engineer that block, we can't let anyone else know these exist. Because right now everyone thinks the most powerful thing is this flare gun. And we want to keep it that way because we got it pretty good. We ruined the world.
If we remake ourselves a gun, they're going to think we made it. Exactly. We're the ones that made it. So now we can show we're the superior ones. We made this all on our own.
Yeah, look at this gun we made.
It's total bullshit lies because we stole it from someone else.
So what we really don't want. And now let's go even further. Let's go to Bob Lazar on this. You and I, we're the big bullies. We got the squad car and this pistol in our garage. We're not letting anyone in there because, yeah, like you said, we want to make it. We want to be in control, and we want others to think that we made it. But you and I, we're not too smart. So what we need to do is we need to get the smartest kid we can find, and we give him a security clearance, and we're like, you're going to come work on this squad car. And that's Bob Lazar. Because we're in charge.
People that have seen UFO sightings and such.
So we bring him in here, and the entire time we got a flare gun pointed at his head, and we're like, work on the squad car.
We get some kids to go protect it, but we're also they're pointing guns at they're pointing flare guns at anyone that gets close, but we're also pointing our flare guns at them.
Exactly.
For them not to tell them.
Because we know that if those kids figure out the squad car and they reverse engineer it, and let's say they decide not to tell us, their superiors, if they can get control of that, all of a sudden we're no longer in power. And once they get control of the squad car, once they can figure out that pistol or shotgun, they run the block now. So not only do we need to get some kids that are smarter than us to come work on this thing and reverse engineer it, we also can't let them figure it out and take it out right from under our noses. So what do? We compartmentalize them. You're just working on tires. You don't even know what these tires are from. You're just working on automatic windows. You're just working on sirens. You're just working on steering wheels. You're working on a trunk. And hey, you're working on something called an engine. And you're working on a radio. But we break them all up into different garages, pointing flare guns at all their heads. And so they don't even know what they're working on. So it's this delicate.
They're just making a little part to a bigger contraption.
Exactly. And the only people that really know what it is are you and I. So it's this delicate dance of like, we have something that is ultimate power, but if anyone else figures it out, we lose our power. And not to mention, you and I, it took us 10,000 years, just, the elite humanity, it took us 10,000 years to invent the flare gun. If we fuck this thing up, 10,000 years of power, gone like that. So it's this super delicate, we're in control and we have these saucers out at S4, and right now the most powerful thing is a nuclear bomb. We can't let anyone know that there are antimatter engines out there, right? Or particle beam weapons. We have to bring people smarter than us to work on them. We have to divvy it up so no one knows what they're working on. And yeah, like you said, we have security pointing flare guns outwards, but we're also pointing flare guns at the security. So it's like that report that like the security at Area 51 has security watching them. There's like a security that watches.
Everyone's like ordered to kill this exact person or something.
There's security watching the security, so the security doesn't get any ideas. Mm-hmm. So it's this like super delicate puppet dance of like, I don't know, getting all excited.
It's crazy.
That's all I got.
That's all it is. It's just super crazy.
That's all I got, Dean. You got anything else to touch on?
I don't know. I got some things relating to aviation topics I've been looking around and about,
Yeah.
I found this for the YB-49, the big flying wing jet bomber.
You on that human rights point, but all right.
Okay. Anyway.
YB-49?
Yeah, so the YB-49, I've been looking at kind of some obscure concepts or prototypes of the plane. There's actually YB-49 had this design of a reconnaissance jet instead of a bomber plane, where like the main difference is there's no bombs. It's now a camera and such, but it has two more engines like on pylons on it. So you got the wing, and then you just got these like B-52 looking engines coming out of it.
On top of so in addition to the propellers, did the YB-49 have propellers?
No, that's the XB-35. The XB-35 had propellers. The YB-49 had jets.
Okay. So the YB-40, so this reconnaissance one had two extra jets in addition to the jets.
Yeah,
already.
Two extra jets that came out on pylons. So you got this really nice looking plane, and then you got these big derpy engines on the side. It did give it extra range and such, so it could go longer. But as a reconnaissance jet, I saw that was pretty nice. Like as a reconnaissance jet, I mean, the flying wing was a pretty interesting aircraft of its own. With there's barely enough tail. It literally just looked like a big mustache or boomerang or something, just a big triangle looking thing. Yeah.
Not only that, do you know that it has the exact same wingspan of the B-2, and that was Northrop the exact same down to the foot?
Yeah, same company. They made the XB-35, they made the YB-49, and they made the B-2. And now they're going to make the B-21.
Yeah, so Northrop, that was their paying homage to Jack Northrop. Because Jack Northrop really wanted the flying wing. He said it was the best thing. And he felt that he was snubbed because I forget who the rival company was. I cannot remember who. So for sake of not getting it right, I'll just call it Company A. But apparently a head guy in the Air Force, secretary, maybe deputy secretary, he came to Northrop and was like, cancel it. Like, we're not going to use it. And then Northrop had a suspicion that this secretary was getting an under-the-table payment from Company A, who was the rival to Northrop. So everyone was like, Jack Northrop, you're a conspiracy theorist. Like, and so the plan was scrapped, and obviously the Air Force didn't build a fleet of them. It turned out that after this deputy secretary retired, he went to work as president of Company A. So that's one of the reasons why Northrop kept the exact same wingspan for the B-2. It was sort of a temporal shout out to Jack Northrop over the decades through time, like shout out. it works.
And really showing off like the difference in technology, because back then you get this chrome looking boomerang looking jet that has a little tail, a little cockpit, and then you have the B2, which looks like a bird. It's completely stealth. It kind of looks like some sort of bat or something when you look down from it. It's like this really weird plane. Way different in technology.
And the design is still fucking fire, because that's what the B-21 Raider is using.
So
for the most part,
bombers.
For the most part, it looks identical from what's been, whatever rendering we can get.
They just kind of like shrunk it down a little bit. It looks like, because now instead of having like 3 jagged points on the end, it's just one. The cockpit is like maybe a bit bigger, because probably the aircraft seems to be shrunken down in size.
So they're still keeping it. Did I tell you how I called Northrop?
You did?
Yeah, did I not tell you that?
No, you've not told me anything about that.
Yeah, so I called them about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I just wanted to get someone from Northrop to come on the podcast, right? And I was just like, because there are a bunch of YouTube videos about the B-21. The Infographic channel has one. I don't think Curious Droids...
There's that Reddit post that I showed you a couple of days ago on Weird Wings of like some photo of the B-21 flying.
Oh, yeah. I don't think Curious Droid's done one yet. But I know the Infographic channel has... Mustard will when it comes out. Fucking shout out Mustard. I love Mustard.
Yeah.
But,
shout out to all these channels that we're mentioning. They're great channels.
Yeah. Curious Droid, Mustard. I like Dark Docs. They're pretty good. We need to check out Redacted. But the Infographic channel had one, and it was about the B-21. But there are several, and not just the... There's
also like just kind of like channels that review the Air Force, review planes, look at footage. They're also talking about the B-21.
Not to mention those just like dime a dozen channels that are just the robot voice.
Yeah.
And they all have like the generic same name. It's like American Military, Military Times, Military Notes.
They all
Fourth
have that
Watch.
like insignia that has like a star and probably some like fancy things in it. It looks like some sort of knockup of the American seal without a bird.
I think
it's a star instead.
I think that's probably just like a PSYOP campaign by the Pentagon. It's just like an AI program, because they're all very similar, but there's like 50 of them. It would literally be like America Watch, Military Watch, Flight Watch, U.S. Air Force Power, Power Now.
All their titles are in capitals.
Russia,
showing footage of
Russia's worst enemy. Like Russia's worst nightmare, and it's all like the YD-49 built in this age of time was the flight of now it would need, and it's all the English is butchered.
There'd just be like some text just put on to the screen with a footage of the plane in action or something. And
there's never video. There's never video. It's always images. It's just slideshows. It's just the images zooming in, doing like the Ken Burns zoom. Yeah. So anyway, but there are a lot of videos out there talking about the B-21, what's going to be of it. We know that it's a special access program. John McCain was denied access to it, and other senators have gone there, and apparently all they've received is, we can confirm that the general said it's a plane. No, sorry, that it's being built and that it flies. That's all they've said. Yippee-ki-yay, thanks, boss.
I think that fits the format for most aircraft.
Yeah.
Unless it's something like the planes they built back in like 1895 or something, where it's literally just floats around and then crashes.
Yeah. Bullies, the guys in the top hats and like the suits, and they're like smoking cigars with brandy, and they're like, well, son, it's about time we ride this thing off. Like, bully.
And they launch it off a ramp, and then you just see it dive. And
or it's like off the edge of a building or something.
Oh, okay, we tried.
And you see them all down there, and it's black and white footage. There's always like a Model T and some horses, and they're just like, they're all standing around and just like, well, he was a good one. Like, next up, and like,
exactly. They just pull some guy off a farm, saying, "You're flying a plane now.
You want to be a hero?" And it's like, well, I ain't no pansy. Of course, I want to be a hero. And they get up there, and it's just like, boy, and then here's the whirly swirly dervish.
It doesn't look aerodynamic at all. Just like hop in and see if it flies.
No, it's like a backwards triangle with like half a kite and some fishing wire. And they're like, it's the whirling dervish sensation. Like, Civil War veterans were still alive for those videos. But like, back to the B-21. So it's not it's something that like is officially acknowledged that the B-21 is being built. Like that's not a secret. It's not like the name of it is a secret.
No.
So I called Northrop and I just figured, well, if any of this stuff has made it onto YouTube, you know, it's always like videos like the Pentagon doesn't want you to see, and it's like, well, if the video is on YouTube, it's fine. Like clearly.
Yeah,
it's
and
not like,
it isn't deleted.
Yeah.
Then Pentagon is like, yeah, you can watch this. Go,
Yeah.
go enjoy yourself.
It's not like
Have fun.
Yeah, it's not like the Pentagon. They're all like around their computer looking at the video, and they're like, "Rats! It got online. Shit! And, you know, we would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those pesky kids." Like, ah, you know.
It's not like, yeah, it's not like we're like watching them like every second of the day.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not
dang,
like-
that was such a fool on our end.
Yeah, it's like, you know, they're in their hangar building their craft, and they look out and they see us in the hills with binoculars, and they're like, "Ah, you kids, get out of here!" You know, it's not some fucking like, yeah, it's not some Leave It to
No,
Beaver shit.
they're already behind us with a freaking tank, just saying, "Leave the premises
Yeah.
and never speak
No,
about this."
The thing is, no, you don't even get on the premises. You don't even know the premises exist. Like, that's what real secrecy is. It's not like, you know, videos the elite don't want you to see. It's like, oh, those rascals, they got away with it again. Next time we'll be better. No. So,
No, and the best thing is like they're the cheesiest things as well.
yeah. It's-
Like they're like blatant out, just putting out some CGI stuff that they made in their basement in like 5 hours.
not only that, it's always like clips from movies, too. You know, it's like the movie. Have you ever seen the movie Stealth? It's a beautifully
I've seen a
shitty
little
movie.
clip.
It's about like 7th generation fighter jets. It's so cheesy. I think it's got like LL Cool J in
Oh
it.
yeah, no, I've seen a couple of clips from that. It's
Yeah, I think
interesting.
Ryan Gosling's in it.
It does
Yeah.
look like F-19 looking fighters.
Yeah, it's terrible. But the stealth plane, I forget its name, but they always call it Eddie because that's the name of like the AI. But that has some like really cool CGI. It looks like an awesome plane. You always see videos of like, it'll be like, that will be the thumbnail, and it'll be like the SR-91 declassified, right? Or or it'll be like a screenshot from Ace Combat or something. Like, so all this being said,
Or like one of those where they just spent 10 minutes in Photoshop just adding more wings, more stealth, more everything.
It looks like a Funner
It looks
History
this-
post. It looks like a Funner History post.
Abomination at that point.
Yeah, it looks like a Funner History post. It looks like the
I think we can do better what they do.
actually, yeah, you're right. I don't want to throw shade at us. I like our work. We do good work.
Yeah, we actually put effort. They
Yeah.
just want they do it for followers. We do it because we can.
We do it just to troll. There's like
Yeah.
And well, it's also fun as fuck. Shout out Funner History. But so all of these things exist. So it's acknowledged that the B-21 Raider does indeed exist, that it's being constructed by Northrop, that it is the replacement for the B-2. None of this is what am I looking for? Esoteric knowledge. Like, this is all, it's widely accepted. You know, like Lockheed coming out and saying that the SR-72 is under construction. They said that in November of 2013. So I called Lockheed and asked if I could get someone to, I went through their website and I found the hypersonics department, and I just called. Like, and I got shuffled around through some different numbers, and I finally left a message and asked if someone would come on my podcast and talk about the SR-72. And I even said, I was like, I mean, I know that there's only so much you can say, and whatever you can say is probably whatever's already out there on YouTube. But I just wanted to sort of hear it from their mouth, right? I wanted to get in it, like, Lockheed.
You wanted the government official to
to
tell the information.
So yeah, I actually got to a Lockheed Martin person, and I won't reveal their name, but they said, like, yeah, you know, like, I'll see what I can do. I'll talk to human resources, but I was like, yeah, it's just for it's a podcast over Skype, right? So I called Northrop the next day, and I went through their website, and I found, like, whatever, some, like, PR person, some media relations person, and I was like, hey, I was like, hi, my name's Tommy, I've got this podcast, blah, 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 blah. Could I have someone from Northrop come on and talk about the B-21 Raider? And the woman just goes, absolutely not. And I went, oh, and she said, don't talk about that over the phone. And I was like, what? And she was like, why would you say that? And I was like, she was like, that is absolutely not something that can be talked about. And like, we will not tolerate that. And I was like, I was just thinking, like, what, but there's so many videos on YouTube. Well, the misunderstanding is she thought I was an employee for Northrop. So we got to a point where she goes, "Yeah, man, what department do you work for?" And I was like, "I don't work for Northrop." I was like, "I'm 29. I have a biology degree." Well, then her mood changed entirely, and she's like, "Oh my god, I thought you were like trying to talk about." I didn't realize somehow I had gotten like an intercompany number that employees are to call. And so, like, if you want to talk to someone outside of Northrop, you call this number and you go, "Hey, what's up?"
I actually heard of a story that kind of relates to that. It was some person worked in like a business where they would just kind of sell things online.
Yeah.
Kind of like there was a machine that would auto dial a random number,
Mm-hmm.
and then it would auto dial a random number. The person would pick up, be like, "Hello," and they would be like, "Have you heard about this amazing thing?" Kind of like that.
Insurance.
And then they got this call, so they picked it up. She tells about the things, and then the person goes, "How did you get this number?" And she's like, she talks about the system, and he's like, "No, seriously, how can you get this number? You're not allowed to." She called the director of the FBI with that thing. She called like the top heads of the FBI with just this machine that randomly chose a random number.
Yeah, I mean,
and it turned out to be someone that worked in the Pentagon and something.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
I know. Yeah,
probably doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
And they got that number. So.
Well, I now believe it because I had just been surfing through their website and I had gone like several layers in just different departments, and I finally found something that I was like, what? It was like listed. It wasn't even lit. It was like at the bottom. I had to click like go into like sort of just like the fine print, and I found that number, and I was like, all right, they'll probably pick up. And yeah, so we had been talking for like 2 minutes before she realized like I didn't work there. And she was like, "Oh," she's like, "I thought you," she had a British accent. She was like, "Oh, I thought you worked for Northrop and that you were calling to ask if you could have permission to talk about this on a podcast." And she's like, "That's why the answer was absolutely not." So, yeah, I was like, "No, I'm Tommy. I got this I was like, "I know that you can't talk about anything." I was like, "I just wanted someone to come on and just to have the official, even if they just say
have the person mention, we probably have the B-21, who knows?"
Yeah, just anything. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't even have to be about that. We could talk about anything. I was like, I just want to have someone from Northrop on, just to have an interesting.
It now acknowledges that the B-21 definitely exists at this point, because
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that.
In that sentence, that the aircraft exists, that it has information enough to talk about. So
Yeah.
I mean, you just figured out some government secrets on your own.
You played yourself, lady. Congratulations. You played yourself. But yeah, no, her tone completely lightened. It's like while we're on the phone, she like gave me her email, and so I sent her an email, and she's like, "Yep, I just got your email. I checked it out." She's like, "That's so cool that you started a podcast." And she was like, "Yep." She's like, "Call you back at this number." I was like, "Absolutely," or this email. She's like, "Yep, send me an email." I've never heard back. I can't get that number anymore. I can't get a response from the email. I don't think she gave me a legitimate email address. I think she probably just gave me the runaround. Hey, whatever. I get it. I mean, I get it. I would have much more appreciated just like no, we can't do that. Okay. Like I contacted Shell, the oil company, and because they have that ship, the FLNG. I don't know if you've ever seen this ship. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
It is a thick ship. Like it is, dude. This thing looks like a little
boy.
It is a fucking chonker. Like I've seen pictures of it next to like oil tankers. It dwarfs them. It looks like pictures of. It looks like an aircraft carrier next to like a destroyer. It's insane. So yeah, I emailed Shell and asked. I was like, "Can I get someone to talk about this? Like, this isn't some like setup. I'm not going to be like you're destroying the planet." I was like, "I just want to talk about this fucking insane ship." I got a very nice email right back from him. It just said like, "Thank you for the offer. No." Hey, cool. I get it. You're a big company. There's no reason why you want to come on my shitty podcast with a dude in an orange coat and talk about shit. Like, I get it. That's cool. I respect it. It's the people that say, yes, we'll do it, and then they just ghost me. Fuck those people.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are missing out. This podcast is great.
Yeah, I know. I was like, dude, you can have a fucking blast. But I didn't realize the lady I got through Northrop was, like, the head of, like, media relations for employees. So I didn't realize that I got some, like, top dog, like, bigwig. Just get a fucking call from a random phone number on a Tuesday. Hey, would you like to talk about the B-21 with me? I asked the Air Force guys, the Air Force intelligence guys, and they're like, oh yeah, they definitely probably marked you because they think you're probing. Meaning that you know how like whenever
they
we
think you're a Russian spy. Or
well, you know
something.
how like when people are always freaking out and they're like, "Did you know there were Russian bombers next to Alaska?" And it's like that's something.
Yeah,
every
Russia,
nation.
it's like it literally a couple
Well,
of miles away.
Well, that's what nations always do. We do it to Russia too. It's called probing. You go and you send some, even at peacetime, you send a couple bombers, not armed with anything, and you send them right by the Russian border, and you gauge their reaction time. How long does it take for them to scramble fighters?
How does the radar track? How long is intercept time by fighter jets?
It's probing.
How well do they keep up with the bombers until they head back?
Yeah, it happened a couple weeks ago.
How does the media work about?
Yeah, how do they take it?
Close?
Do they blow up about it? Yeah, I mean, it happened a couple weeks ago with those what was the TU, was it 160s? Yeah, the TU 160s that got escorted by F-135s. It happens all the time. The only ones you ever hear about are, hey, the Russians did it, but we never talk about, how often we send them over. We send B-52s and B-1s over the Russian border. We do it with every country.
Like I've seen a couple of gifs that over in Korea. I've seen the gifs of B-1 Lancers and with F-15s going up right near North Korea, turning back.
Yeah, well, that military interrogator I had on who worked on drones, he said that we do that with the U-2. We have it in South Korea, and they say we bring it, we put it up at 70,000 feet.
U-2s are still flying missions today.
Well, he said what we do with the U-2 is we go to 70,000 feet, and then we start tiptoeing towards the DMZ, and we see how long does it take for them to paint us with radar. How long does it take till we're like, okay, now we know their missiles are locking on. It's all just probing, right? It's how everyone stays sharp. Well, I had on one of the military guys, and he said, oh, yeah, he goes, they absolutely, because this guy did counterintelligence and now does private counterintelligence. And he was like, oh, absolutely, they thought you were probing. I was like, oh, fuck. And I was like, all right. Well, shout out Northrop. Thanks.
Watch out in case any government officials come near your house in the next week or so.
That's how I got the American flag. Like, hey, dude, I'm not CCP, dude. I'm red, white, and blue. I just wanted to talk about planes. And you're right, I was probing, but I wasn't probing for a foreign power or a bad actor. I was just probing.
He was just
I was probing for me.
I want to get cool epic stuff.
Yeah, I just want an epic podcast. I just want an epic podcast. So yeah, I was just probing for me. Have not gotten an email back yet. I think I should call them again. Yeah. So I was a little upset about that. But so with this I even have the SR-72 person I called. Like it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and that was from, like, I called them and they gave me that number and that name to call. So this was not even like it was some stealth operation, I hacked into the mainframe,
No, you're just like, Epic, I got this guy's phone number. Now time to invite him on my Epic podcast.
Literally sitting here, like, in this chair, like, picking my nose, like, hey, we do my podcast, we talk about fast things, like, just...
Exactly.
So, they were not happy. But, yeah. So, she was very not happy about it. But that Northrop, they never called me back. They never responded to my email. So, a little heartbroken, Dean.
We need to raid Northrop and say, join our podcast now.
Yeah. For the record, that does not represent my beliefs. That represents Dean's beliefs. So for future or judicial evidence,
I'm only near the old Convair factory, so
that doesn't represent the beliefs of Tommy's podcast. Just Dean. Yeah, man. I also called Antonov. I fucking called their, like, headquarters in Ukraine, and is it Ukraine?
I don't know. I think they started in Russia, and then they're just kind of have more factories going around Russia and Ukraine and such.
They have a media relations center in Dallas.
Well, I mean, they did start in the Soviet Union, which Ukraine was, I think, part of that system.
Yeah, it's the Antonov Design Bureau. Well, they have a media relations center in Dallas, so I called that too. And asked them, and I was like, could I have, like, a pilot from the Antonov 225? Or I was like, or anyone that interacts with the 225. I was like, I don't give a fuck who it is. Can someone just come on my podcast, talk about it?
Could be some slowly worker that just, like, maybe just checks the fan blades of the engine or something.
Yeah, it could literally fucking be a janitor. I don't give a shit. And ghosted. I got ghosted.
Yikes.
It's a heartbreaking process, Dean.
You just need to get, like, more popular. I guess it just really works if you're more popular. Because right now, I mean,
no, it's not big at all. It needs to keep growing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're popular, then they'll know that you're not a suspected Russian spy, because you're clearly doing things that everyone likes. You're clearly look American in every way possible. So like, they trust you. You're totally not a spy trying to figure out secrets. But like now,
then again, the podcast
you said yourself you haven't hit 1,000 subscribers yet.
No, I haven't even hit 200.
On the small chain end of YouTube.
I'm at the very small end, and it started on December 12th, so it's only like 3.5 months old. So even if you were to create a front, a facade to do probing, it's like when you have like a Reddit account, and it's like you check someone's Reddit account, and you're like, what? It's 3 days old. Yeah, it has 4 karma. You're like, who the fuck is this?
I recently got some guy just randomly followed me. He like made his account like 2 days ago. He has only 1 karma at this moment, but he just followed me, and I'm like, who?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Throwaway accounts. I mean, and hey, I'm guilty of that. I got 100 of them, but like, I definitely get it, because, especially if really with anyone though, if you look at it, you're like, okay, what, the podcast is. It's not even 100 days old. Like 166 subscribers. Like, so I get it. I mean, I think I just got to keep grinding, keep trucking, keep building it up. But
just get the people that just feel like they want to share their information with everybody. Yeah. Get on your podcast, and you slowly start going up the chain of people that will not usually tell their information to everybody. But hey, they're on a podcast. Why not tell it now?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to probably follow the same pattern as like Funner History. Because like you and I know, not everyone else knows, but you and I know, like, dude, it was like tooth and nail we'd get a new subscriber. It'd be like, we got one. We're at 14 now.
Whenever we get a new person
texting each other, just like, yeah. We just broke 20, and it's like, we in the big leagues now, boys. Like, when we finally broke 1,000, it was like, fucking.
I celebrate that anyone that has joined our server, except for you assholes that decide to comment on our hard work post saying this is shit.
Fuck those people. Fuck those people. Words hurt, bro. Words hurt.
Like, I spend hard work on most of my projects. Can you just cut me some slack?
Yeah. And not only that, it's like, do you know what subreddit you're on? When it's like, nice Photoshop, bro.
Yeah, this entire thing is supposed to be meant for Photoshops.
What about the people that comment? They're like, that's not very fun, when it's like something terrible about like nuking Vietnam.
Yeah, or
and
something.
It's like, what do you mean? They're like, that's not very fun. This is supposed to be fun. And it's like, no, it's not. It's funner. We have made it a synonym for alternative. That's what it is. This is just alternative history. Or
it's just different.
Have you seen that one guy? There's one guy that always comments, and he always spells it funnier. I don't know if you've seen it, but he's always like
autocorrect just going.
Yeah,
is autocorrect just so it's going. What are you saying?
Well, I have corrected him several times. I'm like, hey, just so you know, it's like funner, because there's even a difference between fun and funny, right? Fun is like, oh, cool, I get it, wacky, a triple fuselage A380 AWACS, like that one. Like,
it's really the only purpose this is our subreddit is going is thought provoking.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
It just makes you think.
It's an exercise in imagination.
It's not supposed to be hilarious. It's not supposed to be cheerful. It's just thought provoking.
Thought provoking. Yeah. Be it those happy or sad thoughts, is just thought provoking. It's alternative history. That's all it is. If it just so happens to be cool or funny or scary or sad, that's a side effect. That's not the intent. That's not the primary purpose. But I know, because that one guy, I've commented sometimes, I'm like, hey, no, bro, it's like for your own, like, I don't care if you misspell it. There's no like, how dare you misspell my subreddit? Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just like, just so you know, it's funner. I'm just so you know. And he's like, no, it's funnier. He's like, I know, trust me. Because I've argued with this guy in other subreddits. We'll be like, I visit there. I'll be like, bro, I created it. Like, I'll be like, he'll be like, no,
bro, I am the man that made the entire subreddit.
I'm like, I am. I'm like, There are some funny posts though, like that one of like the Dutch Air Force, and it's like wooden.
Oh yeah,
it's like wooden clogs
with
yeah, wooden clogs.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, with windmill wings. I like those. Those are funny.
I mean, I'm seeing more people actually getting onto their Photoshops and doing stuff. Like the other
and
day,
that's
I
the
saw
purpose.
the
That's
Montana.
the point.
I don't think that looks like someone created. That looks like I know the original photo is Iowa off like Iraq or something, and it's just firing its guns. But that person looked like they actually spent time to extending the boat and adding that fourth gun.
Yeah, and to me, that is what Funner History is about. Is like even if you're not good at Photoshop, but you clearly still put effort into it, well then the post stays. It's like, because that's what it is. It's like people taking time, even if it's just 10 minutes, and just making a Photoshop and like, you know, contributing to the ridiculous lore. That's all it is. It's so I don't give a fuck.
I was in an argument with like one guy that was like I don't know what started it, but it was one of my posts, and he was like confused about how this like was like in Funner History and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. I do most of the posts on this subreddit, so I say it's in the lore now, and he's like, yeah, well, I have more karma, and I look at his post, I'm like, yeah, but I'm actually post on this subreddit except for you, because
I'm a moderator, I'm a co-founder.
I even checked his comments. He looks like he just joined, and he's saying that he has superiority because he has more karma, and I'm just like, well, guess what? Who's running this subreddit?
Yeah. We're all equally worthless. Or whenever I post something real, people are like, check the subreddit, and I'm like, bro, I know.
This is my subreddit. Oh, I mean,
sidebar,
the recent post with the MiG-21 VSTOL plane, that one that I found on Weird Wings. There was one person that said, "Isn't this real?" And I was like, "Yeah, what point does that prove?" And he was just like, he was just like, "Oh, I was usually expecting a Photoshop, but this is still pretty cool." So I'm like, "Thank you for not saying this is stupid."
Yeah.
Here, I think I can pull up the comment. It was here. So my most recent Funner History post, I just cross posted. Oh, God, I hate. Most recent Funner History post, I posted this. Virtual Jet, he said, "This is real, by the way." And I said, "What difference does that make? Most of the subs are almost always fictional Photoshop creations. Still awesome, though, so it's worth mentioning that this was a real thing." He's not saying, "Yo, this is real, you suck."
Yeah.
He's just saying, this is a different expectation.
Yeah. It's the more time you'll spend on it, you'll realize that, like we've said, there are real things, and that's on purpose.
Yeah.
And it's to suspend disbelief, because if every once in a while there is something real and you don't know what it is, you're never going to know which one's fake. So obviously you know the flying clogs are fake.
Like the big my giant version of the XB-35 that was a tanker plane. Yeah. That may be real. Who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah. But it's one person commented, they're like, "This is real," and I was like, "Well, yeah, we do that on purpose, just to keep everyone guessing." And he commented, "That's very dangerous." He said, "That's very dangerous of you," and I was like,
"It's very dangerous for you to say that."
I was like, "What?" I think it's very dangerous of, you're right. You know, Dean and I might affect geopolitical affairs.
So who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, it is common. I've seen. Remember that one time there's the guy that posted that like really crazy looking helicopter, and the Chinese thought it was actually real, and it was a Japan helicopter, and they got really pissed about it until they realized some deviant artist just made it.
What?
Have you ever heard about that? So this deviant artist made this like crazy looking Japanese attack helicopter. It's like super futuristic. It had like a bunch of missiles, even a giant fucking railgun on the bottom. So China found out about these photos. It was originally created in the United States, and they thought Japan actually created it, and they got really fucking pissed about it.
They thought Japan actually created the craft?
They actually thought they created that crazy looking helicopter. They thought this was a real photo, even though it was like a CGI render on Blender or something. And they got really just pissed to Japan about it until Japan looked into it and said, "Yo, someone just made this online," and they're like, "Oh."
Yeah, dude. I mean, It's like when news outlets pick up like onion stories
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they think it's real. Yeah, man. I would love if we could somehow, if I ever get money, I would love to just contract some fake websites
Mhm.
like we've talked about. We'd have some like fake YouTube channels, maybe. You know, just make
Yeah,
up.
I'm trying my best to once I get my computer to actually be not a useless piece of shit that it is right now, even though it's a Mac. I don't know why, but it's just decides it does all the decisions for me, sadly.
Yeah.
But once I get this to work, I'll probably download Blender and start like making like 3D renders of the stuff that I made in Photoshop and such.
Yeah.
Kind of started that now. I already know how to use a bit of Blender. I know how
really?
to like animate things, so I just need to create and then start making crazy stuff.
Yeah. Because if we can we could do that and then, but not acknowledge that they're ours, and then
Yeah.
put it up and be like, well, I saw it on this website. Because like,
Yeah, exactly. We could also just like link the video
Well,
or
that's what I
something
mean.
just like crazy looking plane I found on YouTube, even though I just made it on Blender and
Yeah,
put it on
well,
the
that's
fake
what I
YouTube
mean.
channel that we created.
because not only do we post real stuff mixed with the fake stuff, but sometimes we back the real stuff up. So like that railgun, where someone was like, the subreddits for fake things, and I was like, this is real. Like they're like, and I was like, yeah, this is real. They're like, well, still your Photoshop shitty. And then I linked Raytheon, and I was like, this is from the Raytheon website. And they're like, oh fuck, it actually is. So if we can just
Yeah, on one of my
Inception?
Weird Wings cross posts of like this plane that actually existed, I think someone commented like, isn't this real? And then someone commented to that one, this is fun art history, it's definitely fake, even though it was a cross post. I
Yeah.
didn't just steal the image. I literally just went right up to Weird Wings and clicked cross post image.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the most hilarious thing, because like, it's a cross post. How did you not recognize that?
Well, I think some of the Reddit apps don't show that, because I've had people say before, because like I'll be a smartass and I'll be like, you dumb fuck, it was cross posted. And they'll be like, oh, like I can't see if it was cross posted or not. Like my phone doesn't show
Oh.
it. So I think some people actually can't see it. I mean, whatever,
weird.
doesn't make it any less funny. But
Yeah, but still, I thought that was just super bizarre.
yeah, so if we could get this going down like Inception, like if we could have real websites of fake shit.
Quotation real.
And again, there's really no benefit for this other than just kind of fucking with people. But
Make
it's
people think about other things that things that may or may not be true in real life.
yeah. I wonder if we could take screenshots instead of links. I wonder if we could take screenshots of like a Lockheed website and then put the photoshopped image onto there.
You're thinking of something.
That could be fun.
I actually am doing something like that. On another subreddit, some guy posted like a Time magazine cover that you're able to, edit. So I'm right now, before I got on this, one of my Photoshops is taking a Time magazine cover and putting the 2020 Arctic Rush on it.
Fuck
It's
yes.
it's just going to be talking about like fun or history stuff
Fuck yes.
on like a Time magazine.
Fuck
It'll actually look. I'll try to make it look legit.
Dude, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm like going around on every website trying to figure out the fonts and all that on the cover so I can make it look exactly like the real cover. So people will look at this and be like, yo, what the heck?
Well, what you got to do is you got to post it somewhere else and cross-post that into Fun Art History. Because you, as a moderator and contributor to Fun Art History, that could betray you. I'll give you one of my throwaways. And because, I started making throwaways like 3 years ago, just so if people look at it, they go, oh, well, it's 3 years old. So I've got like 20 backups. So if we took those and you posted that on like, I don't know, just any other subreddit, whatever, and then cross-posted that into Fun Art History, well, then you might be able to dupe some people.
Oh yeah, some mysterious guy posts this cover about like stuff happening of like this crazy thing happening in 2020, and then on a different subreddit that gets cross posted here, and they're like, wait, isn't this real? And be like, fooled you. You've been had.
deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we could, I think the ultimate end goal would be to try to, I think it would try to get like a response from like a state actor. Do something like try to dupe China or something.
Like what happened with the helicopter thing.
That would be funny if we could get someone to pick it up and thought it was real. But like a news agency that like picks up the Onion articles.
Oh yeah.
If we could get someone to pick up like Funner
If
History.
we can go all the way up to like CNN and they're sharing an image that we created, I would flip.
I would be so happy.
I would freak out if I went online and saw on a CNN article or something of one of the images we created. I would just be like, "Well, I'm going off to a mansion. See you later."
Yeah. Yeah.
Cover me in big bucks.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I would love, if they're listening, I would love to be contracted by the U.S. government. Because I would happily sow disinformation.
Hey, Mr. Government Man that speaks in my camera.
Hey, FBI agent. I would love to sow disinformation for the U.S. government through Funner History.
Yeah, like as you were saying last time I was on, that like getting a real photo of like one of those black planes posting it, and they'd be like, "Oh, this is fake because it's on Funner History." Great Photoshop, though.
That would be perfect, though. I would love to do that. I would do my patriotic duty. That's how I'd serve my country.
Just showing people that these don't exist, even though they do. Whoa, crazy. That would be mad, but like, I don't know if the government would actually be interested.
I don't think there's anything beyond what they will and will not do. If there's a tactical advantage, I don't think they give a shit what it is. I think they'll do it.
I don't know if they would just give us a couple of like civilians that just live on other sides of the United States. What they would do we're just random people. We're just random civilians, and we would get contracted with a government job. That would be kind of out of the ordinary because there's usually like big sign-up processes for that.
I think what they would do is they wouldn't contract us. What they would do is they would just use the subreddit. They would post it, and we would just assume that if it's on Funner History, it's fake.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they wouldn't go out of their way to contract assholes like us.
I also download kind of every image that gets posted on Funner History and just kind of have that saved. So
good. Yeah,
I mean,
me too.
I could have official government photos on my phone soon.
Well, that would be that would be the point. That would be I've downloaded everything too, just in case we ever get wiped out. Well, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't, I guess it's not worth their time, but let's say my podcast was huge. If I was Northrop, I would bring someone on and just sow disinformation. Right?
Yeah,
that would be advantageous to their operation.
Yeah. Throw them off, make people thinking it's something different when it isn't.
Yeah. Fuck. And then it makes you start thinking, what have you like interacted with in your life that like wasn't what you thought it was? Like I always think like I wonder if I have seen a video on YouTube or I have seen a post on Reddit that actually was, because that's where intelligence communities operate, is they operate hidden in plain sight. Like I wonder how many things or commercials or whatever you've seen that is real, but because
that's really making me think now.
Well, there's no reason why they wouldn't. I mean,
there's also like, War of the Worlds. There was that craziness.
Yeah.
They also did it again back in the U.S. in like a few years later in Ohio.
Yeah.
They did the same. Oh no, the aliens have arrived in Ohio. A fake broadcast message to see how the civilians would react to it.
Yeah.
They did that because that also relates to if a foreign military invaded the United States, if suddenly like Russians stepped on United States soil, what would happen? So they did that Ohio broadcast just to see what would happen if some foreign power landed on the American continent and we defeated them or lost to them or such. And so they could gauge the reactions to see how they would handle with military and how they can continue to make that improve so USA just doesn't crumble as quick.
Yeah. Isn't that from Area 51? Annie Jacobson?
Yeah, I think it was,
they talked about the importance of War of the Worlds, and that it wasn't just, crazy. It's like, no, there's an actual tactical advantage to that. Because if you can get the public to freak the fuck out and flood the phone lines and soak up emergency services, well, then there's your time to attack.
Exactly.
Or you do it a couple times in a row and you get people start to not respond to it, Boy Who Cried Wolf, and then you come in. Yeah, man, that's got me thinking of, like, what if coronavirus is just, what if it's a dry run? See how everyone reacts.
That could be possible. I don't know. It's also really so because, I don't know. It just seems a little too real because it did start in China. It didn't start in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's clear that things are going batshit crazy.
Yeah.
In every country. So if this was a disinformation tactic, then every country is involved, and I don't think some countries want to get involved with this.
Well, no, I think it would be one nation. One nation would do it. Yeah, and what you do is it would be a dry run. You would see how does everyone respond to it.
I mean, China could have. I mean, there is a biotech facility nearby the Wuhan.
A couple blocks away.
Some sort of biotech facility. So they could have just put this out this disease, and they're just holding out. They're just holding off on the cure because they tested the disease. They probably have the cure. They're just waiting to see everyone's reaction before they start curing everyone.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not.
Look, it's so they can show, hey, China, hey, China, look at us. We're so good. We defeated this virus that started in us. This is so crazy. We could rule the world at this point. So.
Yeah. Yeah. But.
Almost made me spit. Okay, sorry. I just needed. There we go.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to the Wacky Podcast. We're giving away.
Going on that?
Yeah, we're giving away airheads and skateboards. Yeah, but yeah, it's an interesting idea to think about coronavirus being a state-sponsored bioweapon by the Communist Party of China, because it makes sense that, or fuck it, let's not even say it's China. Let's say it's America, whatever, or France, whatever. It doesn't quite matter where it begins, so much as that everyone gets affected by infection. So, because if you don't infect yourself, that's suspicious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to infect yourself. But what would it be? It would be a dry run for something worse. So COVID-19, bad as it is, there could be some smallpox Ebola hybrid, right? And that's what you're saving.
Because right now this thing has kind of the same symptoms as the flu.
Yeah, like this one's bad, but
you cough, you kind of have a fever, you sneeze, you just feel bad in general, stomach disruptions, all that. You get the same thing when you got like a common cold or a flu or something. So this could be just modified version of the flu that has a way better spread.
But yeah. So bad though it is, you would need to make it bad enough that, because you'd want to be doing a dry run for something much worse. So you couldn't release something that is only as bad as the flu, because because if you're doing a dry run, what you want to do is you want to be able to collect data on how all of the world reacts. So you'd set up markers, satellite imagery of sea travel, of railroad freight, of
aviation flights that are going around, all that,
the economy, agriculture. You'd want to get 1,000 different parameters, and you'd start recording 2 weeks prior, and or even a year prior, and you would just try to, it would probably be many years in the making. You would try to figure out, okay, what is the norm? So you get your statistical variations, and you'd see this is what the normal behavior is. Ebbs and flows, geopolitical shifts, whatever. So you'd get that would be your base. That would be your control. And what you'd want to do is you'd want to, by whatever means, you would want to spread the infection. It couldn't be something that was simply a flu or a sickness, because you wouldn't be getting valuable data. You would be getting people have the flu, whatever. We already know that. You'd want to get something that is bad enough that you'd almost hit that. It's like a fission bomb. It's like it's not a normal explosion. It's a nuclear explosion. But the first one is only 15 kilotons, because you just want to get to that threshold where you see where it works, and then you can scale up to megatons. So what you'd want to do is you want to release something that is going to get that threshold reaction. And that threshold reaction would be what we're seeing right now. So you wouldn't want to use your ACE hand, your Ebola smallpox hybrid. You'd want to release something that's just dangerous enough, like COVID-19, where it affects your breathing, there are at-risk groups, and there are definitely more people dying, percentage-wise, than from the flu.
Yeah.
So you'd want to get something that's dangerous enough that you'd see what you're seeing now. Quarantines, national shutdowns, strengthened the borders,
lockdowns,
restricted travel, eliminated travel, all that stuff. And then, I don't know, maybe you wait like another year or 2 or 5 or 10. And you see because like 9/11, the world is going to respond. They're going to start taking precautions now. They're, what's that quote? Like, safety regulations are written in blood. And so you learn from it. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to gauge it all. And you'd see how it's working. And then you would tailor your virus to be able to overcome that. And that's what your Ebola, smallpox, fucking whatever would be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, or do you not wait years? Do you wait until the quarantine's over and then you release it again? You release a new one. Because at this point, everyone's kind of the boy who cried wolf. They're like, yeah, whatever. We just did this quarantine. It's because there's never been anything like this ever that anyone's been alive for. So you wait until everyone, I don't know, like in July or something, and then you release the bad one. And you would have data on how we all reacted to COVID, and you would take that into account. And
definitely,
because at that point that would be your true bioweapon. But you would have to infect your own people again, and you can't release, because a vaccine takes about 18 months to produce. So if you whip out a vaccine immediately, that's sketchy. Oh, I happen to have this, here's a gun. I also happen to sell bulletproof vests, it's like, huh. So yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Dean? Is this a Chinese sponsored weapon?
It does follow the 20-year tradition of a virus.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe it is a virus just following that tradition, or maybe China was just like, you know what, I'm going to make the tradition myself. So they made the virus going.
Fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking Thanos.
Yeah, but it does seem strange with the whole China coming from a place that's right near some sort of biotech facility.
The Wuhan facility.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of in a area of mystery at the moment. Yeah. It also kind of resembles the flu in some ways with its symptoms. So it all seems like strange, but we haven't really gotten the facts all together.
Yeah. Because
it literally just started like as soon as 2020 came around. It just popped up, and it's just been kind of going up.
Yeah.
And we're already 3 months in. We're not all the way into like 2021 yet, where things it'd probably just die down by then.
Yeah.
So
it's like
China's done it's probably doing some shady stuff right now. So
that's the thing is, China's if anyone else did it, it'd be like, I don't really see this being a Venezuelan plot. But if it comes from China, like What? Like, and it's from Wuhan, where their fucking biological research center is.
Exactly. So
that'd be like
a
if,
giant facility that works with bioengineering.
Yeah.
How would a virus not have escaped and gone around?
Yeah, it's like the CDC is in Atlanta. If coronavirus came from like the city limits of Atlanta, you don't think that'd be a little sketchy? Of all places it could come from, it's like the UFOs of all places they visit is 100 miles away from where we set off the nuke.
Back to the Roswell thing.
Yeah, it's like
2 miles away. Like literally a couple miles away from where the first nuclear bomb was tested, exactly 2 years. And now here we are. There's a biotech facility right next to the epicenter of this giant virus that is scaring the world and causing everyone to go into lockdown.
Yeah, and it's like the virus. Yeah, the virus is from a wet market that's like 2 miles from the bioresearch center.
Interesting.
Yeah, and you got to look at, well, who benefits from it? Because with a biological weapon, no one wins. The only way you can win is if you vaccinate your whole population beforehand. Kind of like the sword and the shield, the German method of they were going to vaccinate their population and then release chemicals on all of Europe. But if you do that, if you vaccinate China against COVID and then release it, well, then it's very obvious what you're doing is a bioweapon, and you're going to be smacked upside the head by some thermonuclear fucking. Right?
I mean, there's also a bit of mystery. So if any of you China fans get triggered, I'm sorry, but if we're going to be excluding Shanghai and Hong Kong from this, but if you exclude those as not part of China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, all that, the rest of mainland China, there hasn't been any new cases recently.
Yeah.
They kind of just stopped there, except if you're in Hong Kong, Taiwan, Shanghai, like those areas that are more independent or were used to be independent. Those areas they're still getting it, but China it just kind of stopped. But you go to like Italy, U.S., Hong Kong, they're still going up. It's still rising. So a bit weird that China's not having any new cases. Maybe it seems like no one in China is dying now. Maybe like they're all vaccinated, HMM. But that's only reported cases. So maybe China's just making it look like they're winning even though they're not. I don't know. It could be also just a regular virus that started because of China. That started in China. It's not related, and they're just not reporting on the cases because China with their censorship, they're everywhere with that.
Yeah. So either way, it's sketchy. Either their cases have dropped off. Or their cases are skyrocketing and they're censoring everything, which just makes them look just in general, makes them look more suspicious and sketchy.
Yeah, because it's just stopped.
Either way.
There's
either explanation.
They're still in Hong Kong and Taiwan, which claim they're independent, but China says they're not.
Yeah.
So they're going up. They're still going up. So maybe they're just getting rid of that. Maybe it was just maybe this virus is caused just to get rid
of the Hong Kong protests.
That, and then it just went a little off track and went everywhere. It could be a possibility.
I think that's a very legitimate possibility.
Controlled demo test that did not go as planned.
Or went exactly as planned. Because it would be very sketchy if COVID only affected Hong Kong. Then everyone would be like, well, that's really convenient.
Well, China could have also, blocked off all travel. Because, as soon as they found Hong Kong and Taiwan things, they could have just, stopped all travel coming in and out of China or something.
But that would
so they could control it.
It would still look sketchy. I think the way to go is you would release something. It'd be like...
Yeah.
It'd be like if I need to assassinate someone, it's going to be very... very suspicious.
The only way to know that if what we're saying is truthful is to actually go to China and go to the top ranking government and find out. But that's pretty much near impossible. So,
but it'd be like if you're in a cafe or something and I need you assassinated. What am I gonna do? Am I gonna have a bullet just fly through the cafe and hit you? Because now everyone's going, someone assassinated this guy. and who's benefiting from him being assassinated, or do you blow up a car bomb that takes out every building on the block, takes out everyone? Oh, you just so happen to be there. It kind of hides it, I need this person dead. Well, what if I can remotely hijack the plane and crash it into the mountain? Well, now everyone's just exactly. Oh, what a tragedy. All those people died. One of the people just so happened to be the CEO of my rival corporation, but all those people died. It kind of hides in the crowd. You got to take out Hong Kong.
Like, you can't just snipe that person and be like, okay, that's done, because, okay, they can track where the bullet went.
Exactly.
Oh, they went there.
So what do you
find
do?
out who was in that building. Boom, we found the killer. But if you just, get some gas to go off and cause the whole building to erupt into flames and kill everyone that's there, well, then maybe seems like something went wrong with the gas line, and go check that out. But, the whole building is gone at that point, so where do we find that out?
Exactly. So what better way to do it than to release something? You wouldn't release it in Hong Kong. Better plausible deniability. You release it in your own nation. Well, it couldn't be us. It started here.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no, don't look over here. And then it goes over to Hong Kong. It also goes to the rest of the nations in the world. But by this point, you've researched the drug, and you know that this thing is going to, it's going to kill X number of people. It's bad, but it's not the end of the world. And so you're like, this is expected, but you're like, it is in our benefit that it takes out protesting in Hong Kong, because it's a complete smokescreen. Everyone's so freaked out about their own economies tanking that no one's because think about it. How many times has Hong Kong been brought up in the news? Not one. No.
This probably also gives some of China some free range with their military. Guess what their military is doing? Sitting down because they're trying to get in lockdown, because those are people too still sitting there.
Exactly. What a perfect smokescreen to use your military. So
they would just they could send out their ships to the South China Sea, take over, make sure Taiwan is now theirs. They'd be like, oh, hey, they're not taking care of this. No one's stopping us. Hong Kong, hey, it's the Chinese military. You're now ours.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
This could just be an elaborate plan for China to expand its empire.
Yeah. Yeah, the Zippity ours. This land is now ours. It's but that's exactly what it is. What better excuse to mobilize your military? Because no one bats an eye now. If you saw Humvees in the, I saw Humvees rolling down the street right now. Of my entire 29 years of being alive, this is probably the only time I would ever not bat an eye. Because I'd be like, oh, well, it's a pandemic. It's a global pandemic.
Yeah, maybe they're just making sure everyone's staying inside, keeping healthy.
Yeah. Or, maybe right after 9/11, you'd be like, well, fighter jets streaking over Manhattan on September 12th, 2001. There's home videos of that.
Of course they're probably going to be still in the sky. They're probably making sure no other planes come and strike a building.
So you don't bat an eye at it. You're like, oh, well, of course, because the rubble's still on fire. So it's like, of course, there are fighter jets overhead. So, not only, that's a very good point you made. So not only would it be no one's batting an eye at Hong Kong, you could also...
Every single website talking about coronavirus, they're probably not going to talk about the hundreds of Chinese ships moving over towards Taiwan and landing on the shores. Probably they won't even pay attention because they're too busy trying to get rid of their virus. And their military's also sitting inside because of the virus. They can't move out because they're so scared they're going to get the virus, and their ships are going to get infected, and they can't fight. So they're just going to be like, oh, too bad. That's sad.
Yeah, you're not batting an eye at it. Have you ever seen The Departed with Leonardo DiCaprio?
I don't think so.
Not important. So, at some point, they're just taking out some guy who hadn't paid his debts to the mob. It's on a normal sunny day in Boston or something.
Yeah.
And so one of the guys goes outside of the apartment while the other three hitmen go inside, and he just starts lighting off fireworks. Because there's kids running around, and they're all playing in the streets, and he's just throwing out fireworks. There's an ice cream truck, and so all the kids are screaming. And it's bang, bang, he's just throwing out fireworks. But might as well inside, the guys go in there. They have a non-silenced gun, bang, and they shoot the guy in the head. But it's no one bats an eye because there are kids screaming outside, bang, bang, bang. One of them's a little louder, but whatever. Bang, bang, boom, bang, bang. No one bats an eye. Same thing is everyone's quarantined. Everyone has to go inside. The people in New York have to go inside. The people in Atlanta have to go inside. The people in Hong Kong have to go inside. The people in Tokyo have to go inside. It's what better way to... Don't look over here. Don't look over here. Go inside. Hey,
Also, they're inside. They're not going to be outside, so they could just waltz and be like, cool, this is now ours. And they'd be like coming out like, why is there Chinese flags?
Yeah, well, exactly. Not only that, yeah. Because if China...
Everyone's inside at that point. No one's outside looking around. No one's outside defending their homeland. They're all inside huddling from a virus, meanwhile the Chinese are just doing whatever they please.
Yeah. So if you got to send tanks rolling down the street and you don't want some Tiananmen Square PR disaster, what better way do you do it than you can't roll in tanks when they're all out there because the whole world's watching. Cell phones exist now. They didn't exist when Tiananmen Square happened. So now there's a million cameras all connected to an internet that you can't shut down. Knock on wood. But so what better way to send in tanks than, well, if you got to disperse everyone because you can't run them over like you did in Tiananmen Square, you got to get them all out of the way. Well, how do you get them all out of the way?
Have them all hide in their houses.
Quarantine. Send in the tanks. And no one's batting an eye because every nation's sending out the tanks.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's a very convenient thing for China.
China manufactured a virus just for probably finding out facts and getting some personal glory in any wartime scenario. I don't know what's going to happen. China hasn't done anything yet, but fought it. So that's kind of the only thing that's really happened.
No.
And I guess the other thing is the U.S. is now in the lead for coronavirus cases. USA. So we're in the lead. So now, hey, look, we have the most cases. People start looking to them, start worrying. Everyone's starting worrying about the U.S. because they're all dying. China is like, okay, I see everyone's going above me. Now I can do what I want because no one wants to look at how many cases I have. They all want to see who has the most cases. They want to find out who has the most cases. And right now, it's good. And in the future, that might be like Italy and the U.S. and maybe some other nations. Who knows? So they're looking at who has the most cases. They're not going to be looking at China because they won't.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely right. And it's... So let's look at it. Could it be the U.S.? And what better way? So we want to wage trade war on China. What better way to get the rest of the world in on it than to set off coronavirus in China and be like, look, they can't be trusted. And look what happens when something bad in China happens. Look what happens to the rest of the world. It affects all of our supply lines. So let's shut down the economy for a month. And, before we start back up again and go back to the old ways, now that we've shut down for the first time in forever, no one alive has ever seen a complete shutdown. Now that it's all shut down, before we start up our supply lines again and are you sure you want to start up with China again? I mean, you got a clean slate. You're never going to have a clean slate like this again. Probably not for another century.
Exactly.
Do you want to start up with China again? Because, I mean, after all, look at them. They started the virus and they didn't report it. Just saying. Maybe you want to start something with anyone else than China. Maybe America. I don't know. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm not saying China's bad, but what I am saying is that coronavirus started right next to the Wuhan facility. I mean, if I wanted to release a virus and wanted to make it look like America, I'm releasing it next to the CDC. Because now everyone's going, isn't that ironic? And I know that.
Yeah,
so I'm
exactly.
going the Wuhan, the Bioresearch Center right there. I'm going, maybe I should make this and just, oopsies, did I drop this? I mean, shit, you could send that thing over on a little drone or something. A little stealth drone the size of like a fucking tennis ball. You could have that thing zip over, come in right on a stealth sub, shoot that little thing up, just go right over there, just release some like aerosols right into a crowded market.
Like SR-71 to go over, drop some like canister.
That's what I mean.
Start going.
Just some tiny little, because it's a self-replicating protein, it uses your body's replication systems to create it. It's not like you got to create 7 billion of them. You just got to create one. Maybe create a couple for redundancy.
Maybe a couple more so they don't just die off instantly.
Yeah. And then where do you go?
But someone's going to get infected at one point, and then it's just a cascade from that.
Yeah, you go to China, and how perfect! It has a 14-day incubation period. So it's not like it happens and within a couple of minutes everyone's coughing. It's like, hey, we need to shut this area down now. No, what you do is you release it, and 14 days go by, someone gets sick and dies from it, but by then how many of them have gone and worked on the docks, and the docks that are shipping shoes to America, and people get those shoes in America, and then they wear them, and they're being shipped inland, and people inland wear those shoes, and then they go to work, and they produce food, and it's just the interconnected global. I mean, what? There's something like 48,000 flights a day in the United States. That was in 2001. I mean, this is just crisscrossing. Every train, every subway, every cruise ship, every just flight attendant who's just stopping by in Hong Kong for a day or Tokyo or wherever. And it's mishmashing. 14 days go by, someone's sick. By this point, it's all over the globe. Hey, we got to pause the global economy. Everyone's economy is fucked. Before you start up again, are you sure you want to do business with China? Just saying. American flag billowing behind me, you know. Hey, man.
China probably can't be trusted. You should watch yourself.
You should probably, you know, and it just so happens to be that I'm waging a trade war against China from America, red, white, and blue. But instead of saying, hey, fuck China, why don't I, because if I just say that, I'm just banking on you agreeing with me. Why don't I make it real? You know, it's one thing if I blow up the Twin Towers and I'm like, hey, all the countries in the alliance, I need you guys to come invade Iraq with me. So what do? You wait a year or two, and then you go blow up those trains and buses in London.
Yeah, that's
now they're
Japan
feeling
did
it
during start of World War II. You know how they wanted to declare war on China? They sabotaged a train out past Korea and said it was China's fault, and then they declared war on China.
Yeah, dude, it's the oldest play in the book. You know? I mean, shit, we see false flags all the time. Women who punch themselves in the eyes, give themselves a black eye, and blame it on the husband so they can take half. Like, you know?
Yeah.
We see false flags on the domestic front. What better way to do it than, you know, if I want everyone to join my coalition, my NATO coalition, to go fucking invade Iraq, but everyone's kind of like, I mean, you know, 9/11 was bad, but I'm not sure I want to send my troops in to help you guys. Well, zippity-doo, I'm going to set off some bombs in the London subway and the London double-decker trains. What day? That was July 7th? That was 7/7? I forget what year that was. Ooh, but now you guys have a bone to pick with Islamic terrorism. Why don't you come help me, you know? And now and if the other countries are smart, they'll get the picture like, hey, you should help America or a terrorist attack is just going to happen. Like, right?
Yeah.
So I can say, hey, everyone, you guys should help wage this trade war against China, or you can bring the war to them. And now that everything's in limbo right now, we have time to reevaluate everything. And it's like, you know, I don't know, man. Watch to see if Trump comes back and it's like, we've got some very attractive trade deals, you know. You sure you want to start up with China again?
Yeah, so...
Are you sure you want to do that?
So we're all just waiting down on the 2020 election to see what the hell Trump does to keep himself in office. If it's government secrets or something else.
Let's see. Maybe Trump's tanking the economy just so he can bring it back up and be like, look, I saved us from coronavirus. You need me, baby, 2020. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it really was just a fucking flu.
Maybe we're just overthinking things. Because I heard some guy was watching the History Channel, and they were wondering how the pyramids could be like divisible by pi and stuff. They're all doing this crazy stuff, and the scientist says maybe they measured it with a wheel, and then everything just went to ape shit.
Yeah. It's like, what do they mean by this? And it's like maybe these people who literally thought that they were gods.
Maybe you're just overthinking it. Yeah. And it's just there's like this simple solution.
Maybe COVID-19 is the intelligence nightmare of the century because there really was no one behind it, but every other country thinks there was someone behind it. But it really was just the flu.
We're really divided at these times because, you know, everyone's blaming each other for everything. So.
Maybe it was aliens. They're like, hey, we're going to show these motherfuckers how interconnected they are and that the only way to peace and success and prosperism is through teamwork. And look what happens.
Maybe that's what they do every 20 year. They just send a new virus, say world peace or death.
Yeah.
And we usually choose death.
Yeah. Well, we chose death, and we've been choosing it, but maybe they're just going to keep throwing us that card. Hey, let's eventually time.
Watch out for 2120, okay?
Yeah. All right, bro. That was 3 hours.
Jesus Christ. All right.
Do you want to
I
call?
will.
Yeah. All right, man. Well,
Okay.
send the link to your friends. Tell those assholes to stop paying you and to check out the podcast. Because, yeah. All right, Dean. Definitely do another one sometime. I don't know why I'm acting like I'm saying goodbye. I'm going to text you in a minute, but...
Yeah, we're probably just going to message each other other Reddit notifications and such.
Oh, I'm going to send you that. I'm going to send you the number of the Northrop Grumman woman I called. You should give her a call. Be like, hey, will you go on a podcast? Are you affiliated?
I'm just gonna be like, yo, my friend said you ghosted him. Please call him back. He really wants a person to come on this podcast.
He is
please.
heartbroken. He is sobbing in the corner. He won't answer the phone. Please call him back.
You don't even have to meet up personally. Just call on Skype.
Call
it's
him
so
back. Tell him you think his podcast is super niftaroony. He's crying. All right, bro. Stay safe. Coronavirus 19. Hopefully in the future, this will all just be a funny thing to remember.
Yeah, we can all just laugh.
Or this clip is going to be on the Discovery Channel in the year 2100 and be like, these poor souls. It's going to be like those smiling soldiers walking off to World War I. They had no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just like
the doughboys as they're leaving the United States. They think that war going to end quickly.
Yeah,
but it ain't.
They're all on the train waving, hey! And it's just like, it'll be over by Christmas. And it's like, no, it won't. Like,
yeah.
They're just showing this on the Discovery Channel. These kids thought it was over. Hey, what's that flag in the background? Oh, there once was a nation called America. Oh, Jesus.
It's like ground zero, nuclear war or something.
Yeah. What is he wearing? That's something called a headset. This is back before telepathic communication. Yeah. Fucking
my
Christ.
gamer headset.
Yeah, gamers. All right, Dean.
What's this? A turtle? I've never seen these
fuck
creatures
you and your
before.
turtle, Dean. What the fuck?
Jared the turtle.
Jared the turtle. Turtle 2020. All right, brother.
Okay.
Godspeed, Dean. Peace.